Hello and welcome into my latest live vlog. Today is Monday, November the 5th, 2018, and thank you for joining me. Big old midterm election day tomorrow. I will be so glad when that's over with. I'm so sick and tired of the hate-filled campaign ads. It's disgusting. Really just turns my stomach. People are just nasty. I hope one day soon, we'll see a candidate who won't listen to the GOP and simply does what's right and encourages compromise. And that's about as much as I'm going to talk about politics today. Politics turns my stomach, makes me sick. So thank God after tomorrow that'll be over for a little while. In the meantime, welcome. It's Monday. And I've got a GTX 2080 Ti card here to install in this beast right behind me. And we're going to do a little bit other work here to prep. I think Andrew's case in the back. We're going to fire it up one more time, do a final inspection and any final wire management or improvement. And then that's going to get paneled. The panels are going to get buttoned up so it can hopefully get shipped out later today. But first, I got a face. I finally have a face for one of my many supporters and contributors. His name is Colin Hilton, and Colin is in England. And he's a retired gentleman who watches my videos and has learned how to build and repair computers, like many of you. And like many of you, I've encouraged you to make a video and share your experience. And if you share it with me and give me permission, I'll be happy to share it with the world. And so that's exactly what he did. So without further ado, please give a moment to watch Colin Hilton's video of a temporary motherboard replacement that he's done. And let's go ahead and roll that now.
Hi everyone, I'm going to install a temporary motherboard in my video editing machine while my Asus board is being repaired by Asus. They say it will be about 6 weeks before I get it back, so I need the PC in the meantime, so I bought a temporary board just to carry on doing my video editing. So I hope I have success with this video. It's the first one I've done, and I hope that it turns out quite satisfactory. So let's go ahead and open the box. And first thing we see is a couple of safe cables, the motherboard. Of these, we have the I/O shield, the motherboard manual, the installation guide. Don't know what that is. And the G connector for connecting you from umbilical cord cables. And the ubiquitous Go Faster sticker. I wonder if I stick it on my shirt, will it make me go faster? I doubt it. Or is it a badge of honour? So I put everything back in the box, apart from the motherboard and the I/O shield. So the first thing I'm going to do is install the I/O shield. Make sure you get it the right way up. keyboard and mouse connectors at the top and the audio connectors at the bottom. Oops, that's not a good start. See it again. Careful. Make sure it's properly. Check it all out. Yeah, I think that's it. Next job is to install the M.2 drive. For this I'm using a Samsung 250GB 970 Evo NVMe. So let's go ahead and install it. Okay. The screw out of the motherboard. And install. Make sure you get the gold pins covered. Like that. The spring. Back down. That's the NVMe drive install. Next thing I want to install is the 8th generation Intel Core i5 8600K Coffee Lake Edition. So let's go right ahead and install that. Release the clip. Back up. Get the CPU out of the box. Hold it by the edges. So you've got the little arrow in the corner corresponding with the arrow on the motherboard. Gently let it down. Make sure it's seated. Put the cover over and you'll see the plastic thing pop off when it gets the pressure on. Keep this in your motherboard box in case you ever need to send the motherboard back for repair. Otherwise the manufacturer won't validate the warranty. Next I'm going to install the RAM. 2 sticks, 8GB, making a total of 16GB. Corsair Vengeance LPX. Gently out. Make sure you get them in the right orientation. The slot all that goes in one way. Next. One corner. Two corners, make sure it's seated correctly. Take the other stick of RAM, put that in the end grey socket. Make sure it's in all the way. That's 16GB of RAM still. The next job is to install the back plate for the Cooler Master IP212 that I'm using for the CPU. Make sure you get them lined up. This is work you do with 2 hands. One. Right. Finally the last one. Now I could go ahead and take a look. Make sure that you don't take them too tight, otherwise crack the motherboard. Oh. Two. Right. Four. Finally, I got it installed. Now I can apply thermal compound. I hope there's enough in this tube. Okay. I think there's just enough. I need to put the heat sink back on, so got to make sure I get it the right orientation. Make sure I get the peg in the recess in the bottom. Open it out. Make sure I get screws lined up with the standoffs. Make sure the pegs in the hole with the screwdriver. That with one corner. Make sure it's started before you go to the opposite corner. Let's need a bit of force to push it down so it goes in the standoff. And the other two up. Check to make sure it's square. Go ahead and tighten them all down, corner to corner. Tighten them too tight, otherwise you break the motherboard. And then once more, check. That's the motherboard, ready to go in the case. One thing I forgot to put the fan back on the cooler. So it only goes one way. That way where you see the post is for blowing the air out. The part that spins freely is for drawing the air in. So we want the air coming in, pushing through the cooler and out through the back. get one side on first. Winding the grooves. Make sure they're connected. Bit too tall. I'll take it off again. Take it further down, so that this clears the RAM slots. Okay, and then we plug it into the CPU fan lever. Make sure the little groove is pointing outwards. That completes the motherboard, ready for going into the case. The case I'm using is a Corsair Obsidian 450D. I've got a Zeus DVD rewriter in the top, and a Camtasia USB 3.1, USB 2 and multi-card reader in the bottom port. Taking the side panels off, so let's go ahead and get the motherboard installed. Pick it up by the fan and the edges, making sure there's no standoffs where there shouldn't be. Put it in on an angle. Make sure you get ports lined up. Make sure all the old ports are poking through the back. Make sure it's seated. Make sure you can see all the holes. Then we can go ahead and tighten it down. Doesn't matter where you start, as long as you get them all lined up correctly. So we'll start with this bottom one. Not too tight, then you can manoeuvre the board with these moving. Colin. Now you can go ahead and tighten the wall down. Don't over tighten it, then you don't crack the motherboard. Just enough to hold the board in place. As you can see, I'm using my car-ey special magnetic screwdriver. I'd like to thank you, car-ey, for sending it all this way across the ocean for me. It was very generous of you. Thank you. So now I can stand the motherboard up. I should be doing this in the daytime really, because it's very dark for seeing inside the case. So I think I'll leave it at that and try again in the daylight tomorrow. Okay, now I need to reconnect all the cables to this new motherboard. So first thing I'm going to connect is the CPU connector in the top corner of the motherboard. I'm sorry you can't see anything, bear with me. The light's not very good today. That's on. Next, the front USB connector is underneath the 24-pin connector, so I'll connect that one first. Make sure it goes in the right way with the check to make sure it's on. Now connect the 24-pin power connector. Make sure that's on correctly, not loose. Next, go to connect the front HD audio connector, which is in the bottom left hand corner. Again, locate the missing pin. Only go on one way, so make sure that's tight, not loose. Next, connect the front umbilical cord. And I'm going to use this Gigabyte G connector, which I've never used before. But, see how I go on. Put the bottom pin on first, which is the HD audio. There. The positive goes to the outside. one on. Next cable is the power LED with the plus sign on the outside. Again, make sure they're connecting in proper. That's it, I think. Next one on the bottom is the reset switch. Which is this one here. Movements. The hard drive connector. Okay. Finally, the power switch. You have to double it. Next, we need to connect it to the connector on the motherboard. Making sure we've got it the right way around. Cables are tight. That's connected. I've already hooked up the rear exhaust fan, so now all I've got to do, hopefully, is reconnect the front fans. Starting with the top one. And the fan connectors are on the bottom row of this motherboard. So locate the cutout. That's the top fan coupled up. Now for the bottom fan, same again, locate the cutout. So, hopefully, now we can put the power on and see what happens, whether we get any video on them. I've not installed any safety hard drives at the moment, so just rely on the NVMe and the video connector on the onboard video. Okay, let's switch on and see if I've done it right. Fingers crossed and everything else. Power switch on. CPU fan turning. Rear fan turning. Front fans don't seem to be turning. We're okay there. Leave that off. Yeah. See if we get anything. Straight. There we are. Everything okay so far. All I need now is to load the operating system on Windows 10. Do the cable management, which I'll do off screen, and I'll show you the completed setup when I finish. This motherboard must have been on the shelf for quite a while. The current BIOS version on it is F3. I've been on the Gigabyte website and the current version on their site is F10, so I'll try and install F10, hopefully. There we go, we are updated. Just wait now. There we have the latest BIOS installed, F10. So now we can go ahead and install Windows. Okay, that's the finished PC. All I have to do now is edit the finished product and hope it turns out okay. Thanks for watching.
Well done, Colin. Well done. There's a whole bunch of applause. You can't hear it, but how do you think that makes me feel when I see somebody halfway, well, he's not halfway around the world, but he's pretty far, a third of the way around the world, exercising the same steps that I keep emphasizing in my videos and being successful. And it has, again, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with gender, nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with where you're located around the world. All you have to do is want to do it. And, you know, Colin is a great example of somebody who doesn't use excuses for not doing something. Somebody says, I'm too young for this, I don't have the money for this, I'm too old for this. No, nonsense. It's a matter of doing what you want to do, what you find rewarding and fulfilling. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you have, you can't take any of it with you, but your experiences. Those are things no one can steal from you. There's something that go with you when you go, and it is such a rewarding, fulfilling experience. My personal feeling is the reason a lot of people get hooked on drugs is because they lack that sense of fulfillment in their life. Because I got news for you, fulfillment is a drug. It feels so good, you know, when you put your heart and your soul and your money into a system, you put it all together, especially the first time when you're very nervous and you've got that trepidation before you hit that first power button, you know, for the first time, and boom, that thing lights up and it works, and you're just like, yes. It's a wonderful feeling. It's indescribable. And so if you've ever built your own computer, you're part of a special club who knows something, who's felt something that somebody who hasn't done it can't comprehend. And in the same manner, filming a video of yourself doing it not only shows bravery, it shows how difficult it can be. You know, whether you're talking about tough lighting, video quality. I don't know why it was filmed in 4:3 and not 16:9. The edits that happen afterward, getting things in focus, you know, it's a difficult thing. What Colin did is not easy, but it's clear he enjoyed it, and he did an excellent job, and I'm so proud of you, man. You have no idea. It's brilliant. I didn't realize you were Scottish. I thought, well, you're living in England, so I thought you were English. But now to hear your voice and see your face, it's wonderful. You guys get to see me, but I don't get to see you. And it's a little off-putting sometimes when people recognize me on the street and why am I in the street? But anyway, they say, oh man, it's good to meet you. And it's like, who the hell are you? I've never seen you before in my life. So it's good to see my fans. And if you guys ever want to film yourself doing a repair, an upgrade, a build, and you want me to share it with my audience, I am flattered and happy to do so. All you have to do, you can use your phone, you can use anything to record. Don't worry about the quality, just do the best you can. That's all I can ask. This is what my channel is about, is reality. We're not here making professional television. That doesn't represent reality. It's not real. You know, it's great to escape from reality sometimes, but you shouldn't live there full time, right? So I like to do everything for real on my channel because there's a lack of that in the media today, whether it's Instagram photos of somebody just all perfect in that one little moment, whatever it is, it's not real. And by gosh, you know, life should be enjoyed for what it is, not for escaping it, to get your mind off of life for something that's completely unattainable. And again, that's fine, like a vacation. It's fine to visit that and then come back. Unfortunately, videos such as what I make here, which are sort of raw, unscripted, are rare. They're very rare, and it motivates me to continue to make more. And I would be, as I said, more than happy to share your builds, your videos, your stories. All you have to do is have the guts to turn your camera on like Colin did. Don't be afraid. Anybody who says anything negative about your video when I'm playing it on my channel, they get the boot. They don't get second chances. We're a supportive community here, and all that matters is your effort and your enjoyment. And nobody, never let anybody, I should say, take that from you. Colin was a little self-conscious about his voice. That's silliness, absolute silliness. If I was self-conscious about my voice, I'd never say another word. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Colin is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love it. And you picked excellent parts. I like that screwdriver you were using too, buddy. Pretty nice. And chat room is so supportive, Colin. Just read the love, man. Soak it up. Doesn't it feel good? Feels good, doesn't it? So anyway, let's keep moving on here. Perry Dub says, when I do my upgrade, I want to share with everyone. Where do I send the video? Oh, all you have to do, because clearly if you're watching the video, you have a YouTube account, or at least if you're in the chat room. I think you have to have a YouTube account. Well, anyway, you'd make a YouTube account. It's free. You'd upload your video to your YouTube account. It's free. And then you send me a link to the video. You send it to my email address, or you can even post it in any comments of any video. Say, hey, Carrie, here's the video I did. You have my permission to share it, and then I will be more than happy to do that. So that's all there is to it. Russ Martin has contributed $10. He says, great job, Professor Carrie, an awesome build, Colin. I've been a tech for 23 years, and I still love the realness of your channel, and I'm always learning. Well, thank you, Russ. That's very kind of you. Let's make sure Russ is a moderator in here. I think I also missed an earlier contribution, Will. Oh, I missed a couple. Helena Song 2010 contributed $1.99, and Sterling3371 has contributed $2, and he says, please forward this to Colin. You know, Colin is a frequent contributor to the channel, and a generous one at that. So I think it's the thought that matters to Colin more than the money, but I will more than happily forward the $2 onto Colin if he wants it. It is very thoughtful, your contribution. Colin's, not only contributed financially, not only has he been very vocally supportive, but now he's contributed content. You can't ask for a better view with him. I mean, if you're a YouTube creator, a content creator, to engage with your audience on this level is about as high as it can go, apart from forming a personal relationship with them. I think this is about as close as it gets to trying to find a way to say it. Beyond this, it becomes intimate. It's very moving. It means a lot to me. You got to remember where I come from. I grew up sort of estranged from everybody. I was sort of a black sheep, if you will, and the runt of the litter, the ugly duckling, whatever you want to call it. And it's a long and arduous path to get from the shyness and no friends to what we have here today, what's been built up today. And it's amazing. If you can't tell how blown away I am, take my word for it. My first video to ever exceed 1 million views just happened the other day, so that was cool. It's a video I posted in 2016, and it just etched over 1 million views. That's the very first video on my channel that has ever exceeded 1 million views, and there's 2 more videos behind it that I hope will hit 1 million views in the next, 3 or 4 months. So that's exciting to have multiple million view videos. And again, that's all thanks to you guys, and it feels amazing. When you are making content, the question is anybody watching it? And when you have that 1 million views, it feels good that what you did was worth doing. At least that's how it feels to me. It feels like, all right, that was worth my time. That really affected a lot of people. Now, granted, in the grand scheme of world population, 1 million is nothing. I mean, just in the grand scheme of the state of Arizona or Maricopa County, where I live, it's not a lot when you look at how many there are. But considering not everybody's interested, not everybody has internet access, I think a little more than half of the world has internet. The rest of the world still hasn't got it. A lot of China is coming online now, and that's a big market. That's a potential out there. And it's great to know that my content that has been created over the years will always be available, as long as YouTube's around, for people to enjoy as they enter into computers or the internet for the very first time. So it's very deeply meaningful to me, and stuff like that is what motivates me. I've made it clear I don't do it for the money. This is why I do what I do. This is it, right here. So with that, did I miss a different? Oh yes, Torgo Zeros contributed €5. He says the video showed again how extremely easy it is to build or upgrade a computer. Everybody can do it. Absolutely, absolutely. I keep saying that. It kind of cracks me up when somebody says to me, why would I watch your video? Anybody can do what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah. If you watch the video, that's what I said in it. So very, very awesome. I got to throw awesome in there, Colin. I got to give a little Americanism there. And to everybody in the chat, thank you so much for all of your support to myself and to each other. Be supportive of each other, would you? Let's get this graphics card installed. This is the highly coveted GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. This is going in John's machine. John, as you remember, we built this machine for him with the H115i Pro cooler and 8086K processor, two 970 EVO 1 terabyte drives. It's interesting, I noticed this motherboard has a space in a mounting hole here for another heat shield, but it's a proprietary heat shield. They don't give you an extra one, which is a little disappointing. And let's go ahead and get the graphics card installed. I'm going to remove these two PCI slot covers here. There's that. Those screws are just a little too heavy for the magnet to hold on to. There we go. I'll tell you what's interesting to me is about just slightly half of my viewers are in England. And I've had some very nice offers from multiple viewers in England that are like, hey, you can come stay with me. I hope you'll stay with me. We've got room. We live in the country, or we live in London, or we live here, and you can stay a day, you can stay your whole vacation. You know, you're always welcome. And it's like, wow, these are people I've never met IRL, you know, in real life. And look at how gracious they are. It's just, wow. I'd be a fool at this point to not make my way to England. And I wonder if I did a get-together in England, how many people would show up. I have a feeling more people would show up to see me in England than they would in America because of the size difference, you know. Something that's rolling around up here. Just letting you know. Seeds. Planting seeds for ideas coming 2019. Now, where was I? This is an interesting way they pack this. I think it's a big waste of money, but I guess when they charge you top dollar, they have to make it look like you're getting your money's worth, I guess. I mean, really, they just needed to package it in a box a little bigger than this. But it is what it is. There's been some nasty journalism concerning the reliability of these cards. The fact of the matter is, you know, when I was growing up, oh, it looks like it's a 3-slot cooler. Ooh, didn't realize that. When I was growing up, you had to have somebody's permission to be a journalist. Today, you can write an article and pretty much say anything you want to say and publish it on the internet. And people will believe you. And so any manufacturer is going to have some DOA parts or bad parts. And if you want to believe the nonsense from the haters, it's not backed up with any scientific data. It's all just wives' tales. It's what we used to, back in the day when women were stay-at-home moms. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. It was considered a failure in my father's generation if your wife had to work. And so wives would talk to each other. They were at home watching their kids. They'd get on the phone and they would gossip, right? This was a stereotype, but it's real and it's what happened. And now everybody's doing it. Now everybody gossips, and it's hard to tell truth from fiction. And so what I'm advising people to do is just, put away the torch and the pitchfork and be a critical thinker. These cards don't have an epidemic of failure. It's absolutely not true. They have probably, well, first of all, they haven't been out very long, but according to Gamers Nexus, and they spoke to them, it's fewer than 1% of these cards being a failure, and so that's, or failing rather. But they're all too new. There's probably many that haven't really even been installed yet. Maybe some purchased for Christmas presents. They won't even take out of the box until the holiday. So no, there's no conspiracy. It's not like Nvidia's never made a graphics card before. It is a new technology, and as a new technology, it may be prone to some bugs, if you will, or some issues, but nothing that tragic. It'll be something more subtle. But be that as it may, think as you will, and don't believe everything you see and hear on the internet. Do your own research. That includes everything I tell you. I'm no exception. If I tell you something, please verify it before you go spreading it, or keep it to yourself. Don't check it. Don't spread it. Okay, looks like we've got something else in here. I gotta take out one more PCI Express slot. Wow. Holy moly, I didn't know this thing was this big. This thing's a monster. It's a monster. All right, let's see here. Make sure that the retention lever is in the open position. SATA cables are a little in the way there. Wow, that sucker is heavy. Not sure why they put this on there. That's kind of weird. I don't know what they're protecting that from. That's just stupid. So there were 3 of them. There was a cover here, which I understand. There's a cover here for the bridge. Nobody's doing SLI anymore. Come on. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, how's that VR world? Oh, VR this and VR that. HTC Vive and Oculus Rift. Whatever happened to those? Oh yeah, it's all hype. All right, bitterness aside, let's go ahead and put these 3 screws back in. Uno, dos, 3. All right. This can power, it appears, wow, it's got some kind of a Thunderbolt port or something on there. I don't even know what that is. Got display port, HDMI, display port, display port. Interesting. It's going to use all the power. All the power. How much power does it need? It needs all the power. There's 2 8-pin connectors. That's 16 power cables going into this thing. How much power does it need? All of it. All of it. Does that card come with its own zip code? Nick Poverman wants to know. That's a good question. It just might. I'm sure it'll deliver the mail a lot faster, though. What is in here? What is this? HDMI to DVI cable. Oh, and a metal Go Faster sticker. We all got to have that. And then that's the HDMI to DVI adapter. And so we're just going to put that in the motherboard box with the rest of the stuff. This 970 Evo, this has the old Optane drive that was in there. Is it going to fit? Oh yeah, we got that. Oh, there's something else in here. Is it documentation? I think that's all. Installation guide. Oh, I probably should have read this, huh? So there's your installation guide for the RTX 2080 Ti. Let me flip it around the other way. Step 1, turn off your computer and disconnect the power cord. It doesn't just say to hit the off switch on the power supply, does it? Wonder why. Let's see. Keep going through the instructions there. So I left that on the screen long enough so you can go back and pause it to read it, but I'm not going to keep it up there for a very long time. And we'll just put those instructions in there. And now this box should be all that's in there. Nothing else. It's a whole lot of effort. Very bizarre. Very bizarre box. That just went in there like that. And this top went on. Like that. And this doesn't meet in the middle. You see, it's flush on the sides. Not sure why. Maybe it looks like it's breaking out of the box. I don't know. And then this side is dented in. I wonder how much extra it cost them to do that effect. That's not damage, that's intentional. I don't know why. It's weird. Okay, a couple other contributions that come in. Let's take a quick look. Irving T joining us from France. He says, here's 10 euros for you, Colin. You deserve it. I really enjoy your video. Thank you. See, the English and the French do get along. At least on my channel. Very kind of you, Irving. Thank you. Where did Colin go? I don't even see him anywhere. Still in there, Colin? Nick Poverman. Ah, that's one I missed. Contributed $10. Where did that go? Oh, he didn't say anything. He just contributed $10. Hey, thank you, Nick. Seeing a lot of very friendly comments, very supportive comments in the chat. I'm kind of glancing through them. I'm trying to work and read them at the same time, but thank you for that. Shane says that box alone costs $10. Probably more than that, Colin. I mean, Shane. I mean, the packing inside is probably $10. All right, let's look for the GPU power cable. Oh, first one I pulled out. Nice. Nice! All right. Get this wire tie off of here. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That only has one connector. I've never seen that before. What the heck, man? How about this one? That's SATA. How about this one? CPU. Oh, maybe they're doing it separately now? I guess you could run two individual power cables to the graphics card versus one cable that splits into two. I'm not sure why they... Maybe they give us one for graphics cards that only need one? I'm not sure. You guys are aware of... I've never seen that before. Usually, the GPU power cables have two power connectors on the cable. And we've got a couple here that just have one, which is really unusual. Just says VGA with one 8-pin. I can't imagine any graphics card that would require two separate cables. Enough power should be delivered through one cable with two connectors. I couch what I say with the word should. I've been in this business long enough not to be too confident. When I am, it bites me in the butt. Let's see, here we are. So that's the cable I wanted. So it's got the two connectors here instead of one. And then that side's gonna go to the power supply. So I'm gonna start, I think I'm gonna start right here with the graphics card. We'll do the middle connector here on the end just to make the cable management look clean. The connector I mean, the clip on the connector has to face down on this graphics card. We'll just plug that straight on. It locks into position, and then we'll do the same thing right over here. Actually, I'm going to do it the other way around. Now I see the way it looks. This is a little different than what I'm accustomed to. Put that one on that side, and then that way the cable will go straight down into that hole, so the cable management will look a little cleaner. Doesn't matter which connector, obviously, because you just saw me do it. Doesn't matter which connector plugs into which socket, but we do have to use both of them. Now you see what I did? Now it's hard for me to get my fingers in between there to put that one on, so this one should always go on first, just for making your life a little easier. But when have I ever done that? Then we can feed the power cable down in through this little hole that NZXT has generously given us for our cable management. And I'm just going to come around here. I didn't bring the Lazy Susan out, so you're just going to have to take my word on me plugging this into the back. In fact, I can't even see in there myself without a flashlight. So let me just grab a light and shine it in here and see where's my VGA connectors. There's one right there. I'm going to go towards the inside as much as possible. The reason I want to do that is there's multiple connectors on the back of the power supply. And if I use the one that's easiest for me, in other words, the one that's closest to the edge, super easy for me to plug that in. But if I want to plug another one in the future, I can't see anything behind it. So you want to go in as far as you can and work your way out. Or you'll be struggling with it in the future at some point. Now granted, I won't be, but it's out of consideration for the owner of the computer or whoever works on this to make their life a little easier. It doesn't take that much more effort to do it now. And now we can power it up and see if it works. I've got my USB wireless dongle plugged in. Let's grab a power cable here, which I have right here. In fact, let's run it around behind. And then I just need a video cable, which I have right here. We'll plug that. Remember, this is a mistake I see a lot of people make. They get their computer, a lot of times it's one that they ordered, or sometimes even one they built themselves, and they plug their monitor into their motherboard instead of into their graphics card. Be consciously aware of where you're plugging your monitor cable in, because I just almost did that myself just now. So right here, down onto the graphics card, obviously, it's obvious. You'd think it would be obvious, but sometimes in our anxiousness to get things fired up, we're sort of in automatic thinking mode instead of our normal critical thinking mode, and it's not the end of the world. You'll just wonder why either you're not getting any video or your performance is so slow on your frames per second on your games. Ben DeCure's contributed $9.99. Hey, Carrie, hope you're doing well. This contribution is in honor of Colin and the wonderful job he did with his build video. Very proud of him. We're grateful to have a teacher like you, Carrie. Oh, geez, that's super nice, Ben. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Colin's going to take my job over. I'll tell you what, though, when I get to England, I'll be making some videos with folks. I'm determined. We're going to do it together. I'd love to build a video, do a build video with Colin when I'm out there. Okay, let me switch my video input over to the machine. All right, so I'm up here in the corner. Let's turn it on. Are my fans turning? Yep, fans are turning. System is quiet. It's too bad this is blue. Needs to be red, but it might be changeable. And I feel like there's plastic still on it. It's hard to tell. Is there plastic on there? Maybe not. Holy smokes, did that load already? I turned my back for a second. Yeah, there's plastic on here, see? Let me switch you over to the big camera. Right here. This is all intended to come off. It's just there to protect it in shipping. Thought I felt that. Okay, we got a lot of colors going on here. We got green and blue and white, orange, but this can be, all this can be configured in software. The Corsair can be, along with the motherboard and RAM. I don't know about the graphics card. I'm just not certain. It's brand new, First time I've ever installed one. It doesn't install any different than any other graphics card. Let's go back. And let's get rid of this OneDrive nonsense. Wait a minute, what's my mouse on? There we go. Let me move this over so I can see it. There we go. And let me grab my flash drive and let's get, see, I guess we're gonna need the driver installed. I wonder, does the GTX 1080 Ti driver work with the RTX card, or is it a completely different driver? Let me take a quick look here at Nvidia's website. And let's take a look if it's an actual separate driver, or if they only separate it out for organizational purposes. So RTX 2080 Ti, start search. What's the version of the driver? 41634. Yeah, it looks like it's the same exact driver the 1080 Ti uses. Let's try and install it and see what happens here. Let's go to, I'll just run it right off the flash drive. Why not? Does load a little bit slower through the flash drive, but it's a SanDisk Extreme, which is pretty quick. Although I don't know if I'm in a 2.0 port or a 3.0. Oh, I guess I'm in a 2.0 port, so it's a little slower than it should be. That's all right. At least I'm not waiting a half an hour to download it, right? There we go. And then while that's copying, let's go ahead and take, under PC testing software, let's grab the Heaven bench. Do I want to run Heaven? Yeah, we'll run Heaven. Just copy that over. And yeah, we'll just do that. That'll be fine. Fine, it's fine. Really gonna work that flash drive now. William says that should be an RGB light on the graphics card. At that price, it should be. I don't know yet. We're not that far into it. So NVIDIA graphics driver and GeForce experience. Okay, we'll hit agree and continue and express. Someone in the chat is mentioning with the stuff on top of the box, or with the box on top of the case, that the case can't breathe. The case actually breathes here where the holes are. The case does not breathe on top. There's no holes on top. Holes are only on the side, so you don't have to have any anxiety and worry about that. I've been doing this for 27 years, guys, so I might just, you know, what does that guy say from the insurance company? I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two. Christoph Ash has contributed €5. He says, Colin Hilton's video will get an inspired by Kerry Holzman badge. Colin's already got a couple of those, but of course, I'll send Colin as many as he wants. Rich Robbins wants to take bets that it'll blue screen. All right, Rich, let's take that bet. How much you want to bet, Rich? Oh, driver just took effect. Darren says he's learned that two separate power connections provide two different power rails on the powerful RTX or GTX increases amperage to some cards, making them more stable. I suppose that's possible. I think that really only applies to people that are driving them harder through overclocking than if they just run them the way the engineers intended them to run. Let's go ahead and just click close on that. I'm good with that. And it's all fine and good. We'll close this out too. And then I want to install this is required for the Heaven benchmark. You have to install both the 64-bit and the 32-bit version. The system's dead silent, so are the fans even spinning now? Oh no, the fans have shut themselves off because the card is just breezing through desktop graphics. It doesn't break a sweat with that. Let's go ahead and get Heaven benchmark installed up in here. There we go. There we go. Yep. And then I can close this window back here. Let's close that. And we'll click finish. Now, before I run this benchmark, I want to reboot to make sure the driver's fully optimal. So we'll hit restart. We'll get an idea how long the system takes to reboot. This is about as good as it's going to get here for technology today for the price. Obviously, you can go to Threadripper. You can go to, the i7 9 series, but spend a lot more money. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. This OneDrive thing is really annoying. Let's close that out for now. Let's go ahead and run Heaven and see what it looks like. What is it to run the benchmark? F9? Yeah, it's F9. Here we go, F9, benchmarking. Look at those frames per second. Imagine if Thready had a 2080 Ti. Well, I got to tell you a little story about Thready over the weekend. I ran Snappy Driver Installer on it to try and eke out a little more performance, which is something many of you might consider doing. And I was installing a driver at a time, or a group of drivers that were in the same family. So I did like the chipset drivers, all the AMD updated chipset drivers, rebooted, it was fine. And I saw there were a bunch of RAID updated drivers, and I thought, well, if I'm going to have a problem, that's probably going to cause it, but what the hell. I did it, and the system won't boot anymore. Now, to fix that, I would have to go into System Restore, which I couldn't do because the drivers are not native to Windows 10. It cannot see that RAID array without special drivers. That means you need to boot from a Windows 10 repair disk, which needed to be made with the system when it was running with the RAID drivers, or I'd have to fire up another Windows 10 system and then manually inject the RAID drivers into it. And I'll be honest, I couldn't be bothered. What I found was I did render one video with Thready and it didn't render any faster, so having the RAID isn't worth it. While the numbers are impressive to look at, I have personally found through normal usage, I don't feel a difference between a normal SATA SSD and an NVMe drive. I see the difference in the benchmarks, but I don't feel it in anything in the way that I use my computer. I really don't. So what I did is I just said, rather than go through this effort of having to try and fix this, I don't even want the RAID array anymore. It's too volatile, at least not as a boot drive. So I went ahead and erased the RAID array, reinstalled Windows 10 again, and let Windows 10 put all the drivers in. I did not use any drivers from the motherboard manufacturer. Then I loaded Snappy Driver Installer again to see if I would have any problems, and I did every single driver Snappy offered, and it worked fine. So remember, I warned you guys, you can very easily cause a lot of distress to your system if you don't know what you're doing. and you do what I did, which is taking a perfectly fine working system, thinking you could improve it, and then cause it to not work anymore. Again, I could have fixed it if I wanted to put the time and effort into it, but I just knew it was going to happen again. Anytime you get a virus or something where you need to fix a boot issue, with having a RAID 0 boot, you're going to need special drivers, which means you're in every utility, you know, if you have a Hyrid's boot CD, whatever it is, you'll have to adjust that boot utility to load those drivers, which is very time consuming. Some of you may enjoy the challenge of doing that. I've got too much work to get done. I don't have time. So now my debate is whether or not I want to keep the 3 NVMe drives that are 500 gigs each. Well, obviously I don't have any place else to put them, but I sure would like one drive that was 1 terabyte. So a valuable lesson to be learned. I know better. I knew I was taking a risk when I did it. And I didn't really have any real justification behind doing it. It was just, oh, Snappy says there's a new driver. Maybe it'll go a little faster. Stupid. But on the other hand, like I said, anytime you have a required driver on a boot disk, it's going to cause you grief at some point, whether it's because of a virus, maybe a Windows update, or a driver update especially. And that's just one example of how Snappy Driver Installer can create a very serious system issue. There was no way for me to roll back. Windows 10 doesn't even allow me to get into safe mode. So there was nothing I could do. I couldn't run system restore. I couldn't get into safe mode. I could go into the BIOS. I could, look at startup repair. It doesn't find anything wrong. At least on Windows 7 and Windows 8, you had that, last known configuration option with the text screen. That wasn't an option. It couldn't get that far without the driver. Because the driver had been replaced by Snappy, it no longer had it, and it wouldn't work, and it couldn't see the hard drives anymore. There's our numbers on the Heaven Benchmark 4.0. We got an average of 330.6 frames per second with a score of 8329. This is a free utility you can download. How does your system compare? If you're curious, it's absolutely free for you to try. You can run it just the way I've run it, no settings changes, just run all defaults. Shut everything down in the background except your antivirus, and let it rip and see how your system compares to this 2080 Ti. Now, with that, I think that is, you know what? Let's see if I said escape. How do I get out of this? I gotta quit up here. Quit. Okay. Now I was going to make, talking about Thready, I was going to make an image of the system with Acronis, but I really wanted the system to be more optimized, and when it was optimized, then I would take the image. Certainly before doing any driver updates, if it's important and critical to you, like if you have a required driver for booting, it's critical that if it's a system you rely on, it's very easy to make an Acronis image compared to making all the boot disks with injected drivers. One requires a couple of clicks, and the other one requires a little research, downloading, and experimentation to get it to work. So yeah, I think a RAID drive as a boot drive is a big mistake. One of my clients just ordered a computer, wanted a RAID 1 array, and I said, I don't think it's necessary anymore. If we go with solid state drives, and as long as you're backing up your data, a RAID 1 is just giving you another drive to fail. It's really for mechanical drives. In my opinion, a RAID 1 array on a solid state drive is a waste of money and a waste of a perfectly good solid state drive that's just going to mirror what the other drive does. The other thing I couldn't do with the RAID array is I could not update the firmware on the Samsung drives because they were in a RAID configuration. All 3 drives are seen as one drive. And Samsung Magician software won't work. So I was kind of anxious and curious if there were firmware updates on those NVMe drives. So when I got Windows 10 reinstalled, and the first thing I did was download Samsung Magician software and put the Samsung NVMe driver on there. And then it said the firmware was up to date on all 3 drives. So the firmware updates are pretty important on solid state drives. So it's really important. If you're running a RAID 0, you're never going to get those firmware updates. And whatever those updates fix, you're just never going to get it. Now, another way you could apply the firmware update potentially without breaking the RAID would be to create another boot disk in the system, a separate boot disk, and tell the BIOS you want to boot from that instead, install Windows on that instead. Or take the M2 NVMe drives out one by one and put them into another system that you can boot off of like an SSD from, then flash them with the update and then put them back. That potentially would work. What a pain in the butt. For what? Why would you go through all that effort? So in the meanwhile, Thready continues to give me grief. Now, since I've done the reinstall, it won't shut down. It just stays on constantly and I have to hold the power button in. I think we're back to a snappy driver installer problem, honestly. And I'm so burned out on it. I'll be honest with you, if I just went with an 8086K, it'd have been done. You know, when you get to these high-end desktop systems, HEDT, you may see that, high-end desktop, HEDT. When you get into those, you're gonna be spending a lot of time finessing them. I knew that when I got into it, and this is why I don't wanna build or support them for customers. This is exactly why. I will go out of business in warranty work. Or I have to charge enough money to make up for that, and probably clients would see that price and go, my God, you know, I could buy 3 regular 8086Ks for what you're charging me for this Threadripper, and it's because of that support you're gonna need. So, lesson learned, I will get it running. I mean, there's no sense having it and not using it. But in the meantime, I've got other projects going on that I have to pay attention to. So I wanted to share the story with you that I know, you know, if you're getting ideas in your head about that snappy driver installer, you might just want to take it down a notch. But, you know, decide what's right for you, ultimately is what I'm trying to say here. Don't just follow along because I did it. Understand the risks you're taking, and if you're willing to accept those risks, knock yourself out. Just don't come crying to me when it doesn't work and you need help fixing it. Speaking of needing help fixing it, if you have a system that needs repair and you'd like me to fix it, reach out to me. Maybe we can work something out, especially if you're in the Phoenix area, or you'll be in the Phoenix area, or you're willing to pay $100 to ship it each way. Not quite sure that makes much sense, but if you're interested in it, you can contact me. If you're interested in having a machine built or buying a machine I already have built, you can reach out to me. You can reach me at car-ey-lyst.com or leave a comment in the comments section. All comments require approval, which means they will not go public. So you can put your email, you can put your phone number, and I'll make a note of them, and then I'll erase your comment. I'll never approve it. So that way, the only person who will see it is me. So if you're wondering, you know, look, I don't have a Facebook account. I, for whatever reason, can't email you at tech-vets.com. You can use the comment section now because I've configured it where all comments require approval. There's too many trolls. And so, again, when you leave a comment, the only person who can see it is me until I approve it. And if it's got any personal information, obviously I'm not going to approve it. I'll make a note of it and then I'll reach out to you so we can talk. What am I missing here? Mike Ladd says, I tried Snappy Driver Installer once, never again. Shane Schellenberger says, being on the bleeding edge has its cost. It absolutely does. Steve Branch says, hey Colin, great job. I just got done watching your video and it's inspiring. Thanks, man. Doug21 says, no Snappy Driver for me. Where Snappy Driver really comes in handy is on older hardware. Hardware that was designed before Windows 10 was invented. You know, hardware designed for Windows 7 or Windows 8 or Windows Vista, stuff like that. Even Windows XP. If you can get Windows 10 installed, then it's a matter of finding the drivers. And the manufacturers don't want to support Windows 10 on older hardware. So they'll just say it can't be done and they wash their hands of it. In those scenarios, you got nothing to lose with Snappy Driver. But when you have a perfectly good working system and you try to make it better, it'll often backfire on you. So it's just something that comes with the territory of being a tech after a while. When your time gets, you know, when you've got 10 computers to fix, the last thing you want to do is say, oh, I got this one fixed. I think I'll just wrap it up by updating the drivers. And then boom, you got to start all over again. And then your 9 other customers are saying, why is this taking so long? You're like, sorry, I haven't even touched your systems yet. And the guy that you're working on there, I thought you said you're almost done. Well, I was, and then I did something stupid. But what you do to your own system only affects you, so knock yourselves out. I think I've beaten a dead horse on this subject. Kevin Smith says, I am building a system with a red Xenos case once I find the parts, I love you to build it, or would that spoil your Xenos build? Kevin, I'd love to build it for you. No, absolutely will not spoil my Xenos build at all. I'm building a blue one, you've got a red one. The hardware I want to use in mine has got to be the latest and greatest on the consumer side. I'm not putting a Threadripper in there. I'm not putting a Xeon in there. I'm not putting a core-i9. Was it a Core-i9? I'm not putting the socket 2011 in there. You know, I'm going to stick with a socket 1151. And Ryzen doesn't quite hit that bleeding edge for me, Ryzen 7, as Intel does. So I'll stick with Intel. I've had a couple of little issues with the Ryzen that make me a little nervous about using it, especially with Threadripper. So yeah, I'd be happy to build it. Does he want to keep the NVMe RAID 0 or keep it as two separate drives in that computer? One of the things we learned when we enabled RAID 0 on this computer behind me was there was no performance increase. In fact, quite the opposite. The performance decreased. Latency went up. The only thing that improved was the write speed, improved by 33% on sequential writes. So I called John and I talked to him about it, and he said, yeah, I didn't realize that was going to happen. Let's go ahead and keep them separate. Remove the RAID. And again, I would remove the RAID anyway, because having that required driver on boot up, although as I recall on this one, Windows 10 saw it automatically, so it may not be that big of a deal, but it could be, especially if you ever have to boot to an emergency disk. I think RAID 0 is just a horrible idea. Solid state drives are so fast now, and they're only getting faster and they're getting cheaper. We'll likely see, we're getting close to about 8 cents a gig for storage price, like if you calculate out how much these SSDs are going for. I think case prices will probably go up because of the tariffs on steel and stuff like that. And I think, like I say, I think the bottom of the price on graphics cards is going to bottom out after January, after the first of the year. But whether or not you'll be able to find any in stock, that's a different story entirely. Already people are scrambling to buy 1080 Ti's while they can get them. Rumors are spreading they don't make them anymore. I don't know what's true and what's not true, but I'm sure Nvidia would very much like you to believe that they're not making them anymore, so you can hoard them just like Bitcoin miners. Knock yourselves out, man. It's your money. But at least the RTX cards should go down in price regardless after the first of the year. So right now we're seeing RAM prices heading in a downward trend, slowly but surely. SSD prices, I think we're going to see 1 terabyte SSDs for $100 very, very soon, probably on Black Friday. And 10 years from now, we'll be laughing about how excited we were about this price. I have my 1 gigabyte SanDisk flash drive, which was the first 1 gig flash drive under $100. And you guys are like, that's crazy. Yeah, well, it didn't feel crazy at the time. Miguel Ramirez has contributed $4.99. He says, hi, Carrie. Have you ever had a BIOS update corrupt a Windows 10 system? I updated my BIOS on my Lenovo Yoga 730 laptop and it messed up my system. No, I've never had a BIOS update ruin a Windows install. It doesn't even make any sense. Usually, if it's a bad BIOS update, the system won't even turn on anymore. But if the system boots up, it is quite possible you installed the wrong BIOS, although manufacturers generally check for that. It's almost impossible to install the wrong BIOS. I would contact Lenovo support and find out. That's what I would do. This is a downside of buying a pre-built computer. Obviously, all laptops are pre-built, but or they're at least bare bones anyway. So you don't have much control over that. So in that case, I would contact the manufacturer just to verify you have the right BIOS. And if this is normal, if it was normal or common, they would know. I've never even worked on a Lenovo Yoga, so I don't know. But thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for your contribution. So, all right, with that done, everything looks real happy. All these fans, oh, wait a minute, this top fan isn't running. Why is this top fan not on? Do I have a loose cable? I bet I have a loose cable. did the cable management the other day, and I might have just knocked it a little loose. Let's see, 1, 2, where's 3? Missing one. Where's my missing one at? Let's see, is it this one? Might be that one. See what's going on with that fan. Okay, that's the middle fan. Let me plug this other fan into where the middle fan is to see if it's the connector or the plug. Ooh, well, it appears to be the fan. That's okay. We'll check it here in just a minute. So this top fan right up here on the front is not turning. I just gave it a little push with my finger and now it's running. They're dead silent. I am a little concerned about that. I've seen that happen before where the fan doesn't turn and you give it a little push with your finger like you jump start it. And a lot of times they just work from then on forward. I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and turn this off. So we just hit the power button on there and we'll see it cycle down. Let me go over to the other. There we go. So it's powered off. Let me take my flash drive out. Fans are all stopped. Let me hit the power and disconnect power. And make sure it's drained. We'll plug it back in, turn it back on. I got it switch. Okay, now we'll turn it back on. No, we got a problem with this top fan. It's not spinning. So I do have an extra one. Let's go ahead and change it. After all, it's what the customer's paying me for. I think that's just a standard 120 millimeter fan from NZXT. I'm pretty sure I have extras laying about. Very unusual. Oh, this one might be too big. This might be a 140. Let's take a quick look and see. This feels bigger. Oh yeah. It's definitely a 140. Boy, they're hard to tell sometimes by eyeballing them. So I need a 120 NZXT. 120. 120 NZXT. It's a 140, 140, 140. What's this? That's a 120 Corsair. That would be sort of sacrilegious, wouldn't it? This is 140, 140. Why? I didn't realize how many 140 millimeter fans I had on hand here. These are 120s. What are these? Are these Corsairs? Let's see. No, these are NZXT. Hey, I got one. Yay! All right, let me shut this back down. We'll just hit the power button here and let that go through the cycle. Thank you, Carrie. So Miguel Ramirez has contributed again $4.99. He continues, thank you, Carrie. I did reach out to Lenovo and they did ensure that I did in fact install the correct BIOS. I'm glad I made a backup using Acronis. Well, anytime, first of all, anytime you're going to update a driver, update software, certainly update a BIOS, you want to have a backup. But generally speaking, you want to back up at all times. So while you might be expecting it during a system change, like a driver update or a BIOS update, it's also possible for your drive to just fail or for you to get a virus or for something to happen you didn't expect to happen. So you want backups not only for when you expect it, but for you as well as when you're not expecting it, especially. So good for you. Glad you did that. Carrie, have you heard of SpiderOak for secure encrypted cloud? Oh yeah, SpiderOak's been around a long, long time. Never used them. Have you done a video to explain the process of adding an SSD and transferring the OS? Oh, I've done about 4 or 5 videos on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this fan out of here. So I'm gonna pull power. We don't want to work with power plugged in. Let me just bring the case over to the edge of the counter so I can get my hand under here and pull this front cover off. Ah, there it is. Makes me nervous. I'm gonna break those things the way it comes off. They're good, everything's good. We'll just set that down. And I wanna take the screen off of the front. Oh, why is there an, for some reason, there was a motherboard standoff in there. How did that get in there? That's very odd. Wonder why that was in there. Let's keep it with the motherboard stuff. Should be some bags of screws in here and we'll put it in there, so you never know when you might need that. No idea why that was in there. Well, one thing's for sure, he's going to have a lot of stickers with this case. You know, I think I'll just put it in this bag of screws right here, so at least he'll have it, rather than let it roll around the box. That'll secure it. So, he might have trouble finding it, but he'll know he's got it, right? I'm going to go ahead and take this fan off. This top fan is the one giving me grief. Where's that running? It's coming from here. It's going down to there. And see, this was something that should have been discovered before doing the cable management. So now I have to undo some of this, not a lot, to get through to it. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the right one? Nope, it's not the right one. That's an LED for the NZXT logo. That's not the fan. There's another way to do it. Just pull it from the fan side. Don't have to overthink it, Gary. This is why sometimes people pay me to build systems so they don't have to deal with nonsense like silly stuff. You know, they may not have an extra NZXT fan laying around, and honestly, it doesn't affect anything if you were to just disconnect the darn thing and be done with it. But hey, you bought it, you want it, it's brand new, it should work, right? So you'd have to contact NZXT and file an RMA, and they probably wouldn't want the old fan back, but you know, just one more time. Now that I've got it removed from the cable management, I wonder if something was pinching. Let me just plug it back in and try one more time before I go any further. Plug this back in. And then give it some power. Fire it back up. Yeah, no, it's not turning. Okay, that's fine. So, unplug it again. And before we install the new fan, let's make sure the new fan does turn. The cable's going to be too short. I can see that now. And it looks a little different, unfortunately. It's got a sleeve on it. Oof, I don't know if that's going to be long enough or not. Oh, and it's a PWM fan too. But that connector allows for 3 or 4 pin fans. This is a 4-pin fan, that's what that means. And let's flip it back on and see if this turns now. Yep, it does, so we're good. Okay, so I'm gonna just go ahead and put that in real quick. It's very unusual. Don't normally see a part like that go bad, but like I said, if you're going to have a bad part, it's going to be a moving part more than likely. Fans are your first thing to fail. And mechanical hard drives. Fans and mechanical hard drives. I can't count how many of those I've replaced over the years. I can count how many SSDs I've had to replace due to failure. 0 so far. 0. It's an easy number to remember because, you know, it's my IQ. All right, let's pull that out of there. See how long that cable is, and the new one, quite a bit shorter. I think it'll make it work. It'll still match, still the same. Interestingly, the NZXT logo is placed with the connector coming out of the left side. And if for the cable being so short, it needs to come out of the right side, which makes my NZXT logo sideways, but I'm gonna have to put it in sideways so the cable's not gonna reach, at least not without an extension. So for now, we'll put it in sideways. Seems to be a slightly, yeah, it is a slightly different color too. I'm just noticing that. Maybe I should look for a different fan. What I'm seeing, well, he's never gonna see it because there's a cover. But if you look at the inner ring here, compared to this one, it's just slightly different color. So I'm gonna use it anyway because I don't want to send him a broken fan. Even though I didn't sell it to him, it's not my fault. I don't want to send him a brand new computer with thousands of dollars and have a $10 fan not work. It's ridiculous. Oh, a new problem. These fan screws are too small. Never seen that before. Now I'm confused. Hold on a minute. What is going on here? Let me double check my inventory, see if I might have a fan from an NZXT case. Thought I did. NZXT case fans. What do we have here? 140, Corsair, a 140 Noctua, some dirty fan. I don't know why I'm keeping that. What's this? Corsair, 140. Wow, these are all 140s. Crazy. Another Corsair. That must have come from a radiator that I changed the fans out on. More 140s, and 140 Noctua again. Then I got a bunch of 80s, which will probably sit there for the next 10 years. I need to probably throw those out. The minute I throw them out, somebody's going to bring me a system that needs it, right? Well, shoot. What am I gonna do? I guess I'm gonna have to, well, let me think for a minute. Stupid fan. That helps to say that. Stupid fan. It's weird that the holes in the fan are different. The mounting holes, they look the same. They're slightly wider. And the number of fan blades is different, and the size of the fan blades is different. So it's going to affect the airflow. So the more I think about it, I really need to change it with the same fan. Probably going to have to contact NZXT for an RMA on it. Gosh darn it. I'll just ask the customer if he wants me to do it for him, or if I should just send the system and have him deal with it. I don't mind. It's just, he's probably anxious by now, I would think. So yeah, that's just not going to work for me. Man, I thought I had this all figured out. If they were 140s, I'd have been fine. Darn it. One other place I can check. Nope. Nope. It just don't work. Man, I thought I was going to ship this today. Guess I thought wrong. Carrie, you can take the fan out of your build. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Looks like Miguel Ramirez is leaving. Hey, Miguel, I'm going to make you a moderator just so you know if you're still there. Thank you for your contributions today and your questions. Do remember that the time change just occurred, daylight savings time. So you want to make sure your clock on your computer is correct. Be sure to check that bottom right corner and check your time. You may not realize, like I did, all my time zones, I just left defaulted to Pacific time, and so all my computers were an hour behind today. Yeah, I think I'm going to follow what Samuel Ramos is saying and just take the fans out of mine and give it to him. I think that's the right thing to do. So I'll take a fan off of here. Yeah, this one's mine. I don't need mine anytime soon. Come on. Jeez. Man. Am I getting weaker? So paranoid about breaking those things. Oops. There we go. There we go. Good idea, Samuel. Good idea. Don't know why I didn't think of that. I don't normally have a machine sitting around that's mine. That's why. All right, let's put this back together now. Well, that screw is stripped out. Okay, and then we'll just, before I do any cable management, I'm just going to plug it in and make sure it works before I do anything else. There we go. And plug it back in. Switch on, power. Now the fans are spinning. Very good. Shut it back off before it boots. And I'll put the screen back on. There we go. And then the cover. So I can ship this today after all. Look at that. Good thinking. Good thinking. And as for me, I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave the fan out of it. I'll put this back together so nothing gets lost or damaged. I'll take the 4 fan screws that are mine and I'll put them in my motherboard box so I'll have them for when I replace the fan. In fact, I think I'll take the bad fan and place it in my motherboard box as well. What did I do with it? What did I do with the bad fan? I set it somewhere. Where did I put it? Kitchen's not that big, Gary. Shouldn't be losing a... Where did I put it? Gosh darn it. I think I'm getting old and senile. It's right up here on top of the box. It's like a Monty Python sketch. Fishy, fishy, fishy. Where is the fishy? Look under the sofa. All right. Put this back on. That front fan isn't even necessary, but listen, when you pay this kind of money, you expect everything to work whether it's necessary or not, you know? That's what's important. All right. We know that works. We're going to do a little minor cable management to correct that, and then I can get this shipped out. May not be today, but I'm going to try and get it out today. I'm still going to try. Just move that over here. And let's take this cable over down here. Let's put the screwdriver away. Let's move this towards the back. And I want to bring up Andrew's machine because Andrew's, I think is ready to be shipped. Let me just fire it up one more time. This is the machine where the fans didn't turn. It wasn't the fan's fault, it was the motherboard's fault, if you recall. And I just left it unplugged for a couple of days, and when I fired it up, it worked fine. I suspect it's going to work fine from now on. I think there was just an electrical glitch in there that was causing it. Andrew's going to add his own graphics card when he receives the computer, which for now we're going to run off onboard graphics, and then we don't have to worry about it being damaged in shipping. And John's computer with the RTX, that's just going to California, so I'm not worried about it being damaged in shipping. It's not going that far. Now, the one going to Australia, I'll remove the graphics card from that one. Before I send it, because I think there's a high likelihood of that graphics card getting damaged going that distance. Okay, put this up here. There we go. Now, let's see if our fans spin. Yes. Yes, as I thought. They're working just fine. Let's go over to that feed, see how fast this bad boy boots. Did I plug it in all the way? I think I did. There it goes. One of the other things I noticed on Thready this weekend is the power light doesn't light up on the case. I think, you know, how I was so happy with that single connector, since all motherboard manufacturers, at least all the boards I use from Gigabyte and Asus, use the same pinouts for hard drive LED, power switch, reset switch. These cases don't have a reset switch. Apparently, I'll have to go look at it. I haven't done, it's on my to-do list. I haven't checked the pinout on the board, but apparently Gigabyte on that 470 board, it looks like they moved the power LED, which is really stupid. I don't know why Gigabyte would do that. So there's our boot up. Again, all the fans are running great. We've already done our cooling test. So I have a little bit of cable management left to do on this, and this is going to ship exactly like it is, apart from some cable management and putting the panels back on. This will go to Andrew just like this. Wi-Fi is hooked up and working. We can look for any Windows updates since we're here. Well, that was quick. Sometimes that happens a little too quick. I'll take it. Yeah, and then of course, Andrew had logged in remotely to make some changes, which is why you'll see some icons here a little different. It's all good. We're gonna go ahead and shut this down, and it does verify, yes, the fans are working, everything's fine. Whatever it was with this board is self-corrected, and probably will never rear its ugly head again, so we'll be good. Good, well that makes me feel better. That means I've got These are all ready to ship. Australia's ready, Pennsylvania's ready, California's ready. Just minor little issues to deal with before I ship, little cable management. But software-wise, they're good to go. Firmwares are all updated, BIOSes are all updated. Windows updates are all put in, latest graphics card driver. So when you order a computer from me, you literally just take it out of the box, plug it in, and start using it. You don't have to remove any adware or crapware or do any configuration at all, really, apart from installing what software you want to use, configure your email, which you would have to do anyway, but you don't have to do all that additional stuff that the mass manufacturers make you do. Jet Esh says the boot time was 14 seconds. That's not bad. Jeff Steed says, hello, Kerry from cold Michigan. Well, how do you define cold? Andrew says, I will harass NZXT if it happens again. I have no doubt you will. Kerry, what's the price to ship to Australia? Well, that system would have already been gone to Australia, except for FedEx charging me twice what I thought it would be. I thought it would run at most $600. Given that a system like that, like for me to ship Andrew's system to him, will probably be around 150, maybe 130, between 130 and 150, I gotta guess. So I thought to go to Australia should be, 2 to 3 times that, $600 at the most. FedEx wants $1,200 and 15 days to get there. That doesn't include any import fees. And customs will probably hold it for 15 days on top of that. So even if I shipped it today, Rodney in Australia won't see it for a month. So I'm really under the wire to get this out ASAP so we can have it in time for the holiday season, which is summertime in Australia, for those of you who don't know. Now, DHL should be cheaper, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I've got a bunch of boxes. There's the motherboard box, there's a keyboard and a mouse, each in a box. There's external DVD drive is in a box. I'm going to put all that together and take it to FedEx and let them put it all in one big box. Then, and I'll pay FedEx, they charge like $20 for the box and the labor to do all that work. Then I need to load it back up in the car and then drive it over to the DHL office, which is, there's only 2 DHL offices versus, 16 FedEx offices in the Phoenix area. FedEx offices are open until 9 o'clock at night. DHL's only open until 5:30 or 6. So I have to get from FedEx over to DHL and have them weigh it. And if they're $600 or thereabout, I'll go ahead and let them ship it. But if they're more than that, then I'm going to try UPS next. UPS is my last choice because any boxes that I ever receive damaged always happens from UPS. I very rarely get a damaged box from anybody but the United States Postal Service and UPS. It does happen, but most of the time when it happens, it's USPS or UPS. So the alternative then is to find a direct carrier, but most of them want to ship big palleted stuff that's over 100 pounds. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I knew this was going to be a learning curve for me, but I didn't expect this part of it to be as difficult as it's been. And I can't just load that into my Mustang because once it gets put into a big box, it won't fit in the Mustang anymore. So I have to use my wife's SUV. So I have to wait for her to get home from work. I didn't think it was going to turn into this. Alternately, if I knew everything I could do online, I could just have DHL come to my house and pick it up. But still, I have to get it from FedEx back home. So I could bring the individual boxes in the Mustang. Once it's put into one big box, it won't fit in the Mustang anymore. It's pretty sizable. In fact, it can be difficult to get through the front door. It'll just fit. At least that's how it was with, if you remember, Ahmad sent me his computer from New York. That thing barely fit through my front door. At least flat. I suppose I could have flipped it on its side. William Dawson says, buy an airplane ticket. Yeah, right. I could probably buy an airplane ticket to Australia. Actually, I think he's in Tasmania, but regardless, it's Australia. Pay the extra $50 for an extra baggage, still put it in the FedEx box, but just give it to the airline employee, say, throw it on a plane with me. He'll get it a lot faster, right? And I don't know what the likelihood for damage is, but I can't imagine it's that much different at this point. And then take a little vacation in Australia. Probably can get through customs a lot quicker and maybe even avoid the import taxes because if it's luggage. I have a friend who lives in Brazil, and when she comes to visit the US, she's originally from the US, but electronics are so expensive. They're so taxed in Brazil. When she comes to America, she likes to buy a new laptop while she's here. Then she just throws away all the packaging and boxes and stuff, and that's her carry-on laptop, so she doesn't have to pay the taxes when she comes back into Brazil on this brand new laptop, because there's no way to prove that she didn't have it when she left, versus buying it in Brazil or buying it online or asking me to buy it for her and then shipping it to her, at which point it'll cost her more money with the tariffs and fees than if she just bought it in her country. And that's why the country's government does that. They all do the same thing. So if you guys think you're going to save money by buying parts in another country, that only works with something that you could claim you had with you the whole time, something like a laptop. So, do you ship a lot out? Well, you see what I build, you see what I ship. Patrick says you can call DHL and UPS from the FedEx store once you have the weight and dimensions. This is true, Patrick. Very true. Carl says, I have an international and domestic shipping connection. Well, please share it with me, Carl. I don't know what I'm doing. Amazed you were able to get the EVGA 2080 Ti. I didn't get it. The customer, John, got it. I don't know how he got it. I don't know where he got it, and I don't know how much he paid, but I know he struggled with it. I know that. Carrie, what's the difference between DHL Express and DHL Global Forwarding? I have never shipped with DHL. I couldn't even tell you what DHL stands for. So far be it for me to be able to answer your questions. I just don't know at this time. Rich says he purchased his parts. Rich wants to do a build with me on December the 2nd. Says parts will come to you within the next week or so. Rich, if you have tracking numbers, please forward them to my email so I can know to be home and watch for those parts so they're not sitting out by the front door. I've never had a problem with theft before, but I don't want to start. So if you would do that for me, I would appreciate it. I wonder what's wrong with Thready. What do you think is causing all these weird issues? It comes with buying a high-end bleeding edge technology. It's just part of what comes with it. As I mentioned before, if you buy a really super cheap computer, it's probably not going to be very reliable. And if you buy a really high-end computer, it's probably not going to be very reliable. I bought one of the cheapest brand new cars you can buy, a Hyundai, and it was the worst car I've ever owned. Ever, period, bar none. Never drove anything worse or more unreliable. Those Hyundais have a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty because they need them. That's why they've got them. Likewise, if you buy a Ferrari, you have a 24-month warranty. That's it. Ferrari is not known for their reliability, nor is Maserati or Lamborghini. They're simply not known for reliability. Same could be said for like a Dodge Challenger, Hellcat, or Demon. Those things are not going to be the most reliable car you can buy. They'll be one of the fastest. So if you want reliability, if that's important to you, you want to buy mainstream. You don't want to go above that, you don't want to go below that, or you're going to have problems with it. William says EVGA's Precision by One software is EVGA's LED control software. I'll let the customer handle that. I'm not going to do that. On Thready, have you tried a different graphics card? Well, the graphics card I put in Thready, I went with an AMD graphics card, which I never do. I did a lot of things I never do for the Threadripper build. And a lot of my videos won't play on VLC. I just get a green screen. So I had to go into VLC, and for hardware acceleration, it's set to auto, and I had to turn that to disabled. On a brand new $4,200 computer, I had to disable hardware acceleration for the green to go away and for the videos to play properly in VLC. Now, is that a video card problem? Probably. Was there maybe a newer driver that could have resolved it? Maybe, I don't know. I had the latest drivers on it when I built it. Have new drivers been released since then? I'm not getting any auto notifications like I am with Nvidia, so I have no idea how to tell. It's a world I'm just not real familiar with. I like to stick with what I know, since what I know is working for me. I went outside of my comfort zone on this build. And so part of it is my own ignorance and lack of familiarity with the hardware, and part of it is they just don't make it as easy, right? So the problem was relatively easy to fix by turning hardware acceleration off, but why should I have to? Isn't the point of having that hardware to enable hardware acceleration? And VLC is so good, I don't think it's a VLC problem. I think it's a driver issue, probably related to the graphics card. But that's a $700, $650 graphics card. I'll be damned if I'm going to pull it and not use it. I'm going to use it. It's a lot of money. Do you ship overseas often? I never, ever, ever ship overseas. It's very expensive. It takes a long time. The likelihood for damage is increased. There's nothing I can do to help the customer. And the import tariffs and fees are unknown until it arrives in their country of origin, and their government then figures that rate out. I don't. So customers have to pay a lot of money, and they have to wait a long time. I agreed to do this for Australia because the gentleman was willing to accept the risk and wouldn't hold me accountable if the glass breaks and shatters in shipping. It's likely it's going to ruin all the components inside the computer. If it arrives and there's $2,000 in tariff fees, I have no control over that. So after he's paid for the system and paid for the shipping, he'll also have to pay for that. And when he pays for it, he's not going to be able to open it and look until he pays for it. So if it's damaged, it'll be after he's paid the final dime that he'll be able to open it and look and see. Ideally, it'll be fine. And if it is fine, I'll certainly consider shipping to Australia. Again, I've had a number of other individuals in Australia expressing interest in that. This is the first time, and I wouldn't have done it if the customer wouldn't accept all liability and responsibility and absorb all the costs. Customer's even willing to pay the $1,200 to FedEx if that's what he has to do. I just think we need to look at some other options because $1,200 seems awfully excessive to me. And I work too hard for my money to disrespect the value of somebody else's. Slow Death says it is a VLC issue with the with D3D, Direct3D 11. Interesting. I don't have that problem with the Nvidia cards though. I mean, all my other computers, whether I'm using onboard video or a GTX graphics card, they don't have that problem. So why is it a VLC problem that's only affected with AMD graphics cards? It sounds to me like an AMD driver issue. It's one more reason not to use AMD graphics cards as far as I'm concerned. I just don't have these problems with Nvidia. I just don't. Yeah, what I've advised to customers overseas is if they want me to build a computer, it'd probably be faster and cheaper for you to buy the parts locally and then pay for my plane ticket and hotel. I'll take care of my food. I'll take care of my transportation. I just need a ticket there. I'll bring my camera. We'll film in your house. We'll build it together and I'll come home. Mark Spain says, I bought my EVGA 1080 Ti through Amazon Global. It shipped from the US to the UK, took 3 days to arrive, and it was 40 pounds cheaper than buying one here, even with shipping and import duties. Interesting. SlowDef confirms it's only on, the VLC issue is only on AMD GPUs. So you do ship international when you get paid to do so. No, it's more than getting paid to do so. It's about a customer. First of all, I never ever ship. Let's make this very clear. I have never before shipped international. People keep asking, and they're wearing me down. They're eroding me. And I'm like, fine. If you want me to do that and you're willing to accept it, the machine arrives mangled and destroyed. Nothing, you can't hold me accountable. You can't hold me liable. You're not going to expect me to build you another one and ship you another one. You're not going to ship it back and have me fix it for free. You're accepting all of that risk. And when you pay for the shipping and you wait the 15 days or whatever it is for the item to arrive in your country, I have no idea what tariffs or fees are going to be imposed upon you. I have no control over it. That's between you and your government. So then you will dole out some more money. Now, if you're okay with all of these conditions, which this gentleman in Australia was, which surprised me. I expected him to go, hey, that's too much risk. The gentleman in Australia said, I won't hold you accountable. I'm happy to take the risk. It's worth it to me. And I said, well, it's worth it to me to find out if this whole thing works out just fine, to have the learning experience of how do I ship it, how long is it going to take. He'll tell me what his import fees were when he pays them. You know, when he gets the bill, he'll share that info. And then I'll be able to give people a better idea of what to expect if they want to do that. But they'll always have this disclaimer that you can't hold me accountable for whatever happens to that computer in the shipping. So I highly discourage it. I highly advise people not to buy a computer from me internationally. I think it's foolish. But if you really want to, you know, unless this whole thing from Australia, like if this thing arrives damaged, I'll never do it again. But if it arrives okay, I'll certainly consider doing it again. So let's be very clear on this. This wasn't my idea and I didn't want to do it. And I'm not getting paid to do it. I'm doing it the same as I do any other build. Customer will pay actual costs. The only money I make is from the video. Let's be very, very clear. I am not breaking rules over money. It's not the way it works. It's never worked that way for me. Anybody who's watched my channel long enough knows I am not money motivated, never have been, don't anticipate ever will be. So customers paying the same any other customer pays. Pays the shipping like any other customer pays. The only difference is the customer has to accept responsibility for damage. There's nothing I can do to help them from this distance. I can't. Shane says, I'd be interested in what the final tally is going to be when it's all said and done. I'm more concerned that the machine arrives in one piece. That's my, if it didn't have the glass panel, I wouldn't be so worried, but that glass panel, if that glass breaks and falls inside of the computer with all the electronics, it's not going to be pretty. Will insurance cover delivery damages? Has anybody in the chat room ever applied for insurance on a package? Anybody at all in the chat? Have you ever tried it? One of the good things when I ship via FedEx, when I have FedEx packet, see what the shippers do is they're happy to sell you the insurance, but like any other insurance, they don't want to pay out any claims. They want to find every reason not to pay the claim. So unless there's a lot of physical damage to the shipping box itself, they're going to say you didn't pack it good enough. One of the advantages of spending the $20 to let FedEx put it in their own box, which is, you know, double corrugated cardboard, along with them packing it, is they are the ones responsible if it wasn't packed correctly. So they're more likely to pay the insurance because if it wasn't packed correctly, it was their own fault because they're the ones who did it. Now, having FedEx pack it to give it to DHL, then DHL will play the same game. They're going to say, hey, you didn't pack it well enough. That's what the standard line is across the board. I'd say probably 999 insurance claims out of 1,000 through any postal service are not paid because you're claiming something that they'll say is your fault. That's maybe an exaggerated estimate, but that would be my estimate. Lots of people think you can just file an insurance claim and get paid. Rarely does insurance ever just pay on a claim. It's very rare, very, very rare. And especially in delivery services where fraud is so high. How is the Ryzen 1700 streaming PC doing? Are you happy with it? The Ryzen 7 1700 is what I'm streaming to you on now. It's nice and quiet. I'm very happy with it. I'm running out of drive space. And I think my front panel connector on the Corsair 200R, where I plug headphones into the front of it, it looks like it periodically pops up and like it thinks a phantom device has been being plugged in. So I get these pop-up notifications that it's acknowledging I've plugged headphones in when I haven't. Like it'll just happen now while I'm talking to you. So I need to get with Corsair and have them send me another front panel. I really would like this. I'd like to figure out what it's going to take to get them to send me about 6 front panels. It seems to be something I'm replacing. Well, it seems pretty often now. With that said, I've got 9 Corsair cases that are empty, brand new in a box that I could strip for parts if I need one, you know, but Corsair's RMA has been very helpful. They've never denied me an RMA, but at some point you got to start getting suspicious. My God, we've sent 4 of these things to this guy this year. How many more is he going to need? What's he doing with them? I did have an extra one, and while my sister was learning cable management, she cut right through the audio cable. Hey, we all got to learn. I said, you know, no big deal. I got a spare one. We'll use it. So I don't have a spare one anymore. She tied a nylon zip tie onto a cable, realized she could improve it, and when she cut the zip tie off, she went right through the cable. Ugh. She felt horrible about it. But luckily, it was something I had a spare part for. So I'm going to try and see what it'll take to get Corsair to send me a couple of extras, if I can get a couple extras. Do you like the Fractal Design R6 PC case? I do not like a single case that Fractal Design makes. There's not a case Fractal Design makes that I like or recommend. They're well built, but I don't like their design. They're just not builder friendly. Have you noticed that your stream image color temperature is a bit blue? I have noticed that lately. I don't know why that is. I don't think I've got any filters turned on, but I've been meaning to look into it and completely forgot. Let me look now. Filters. Yeah, there's no filters applied, so that's all in camera. For some reason, I don't know why it does appear to be blue. Could be my LED lighting is doing that. I'm not sure. I have noticed it. But it hasn't bothered me enough to take me away from work to fidget with the camera settings. Roger says, I've shipped many items for work. I've had a few claims for damaged items, and in all cases, all I got was the shipping price refunded and free shipping on a replacement. Yeah, well, a lot of good that's going to do on a $3,200 computer. Let's see. JWK Kelly says, I had a problem with a headphone jack on a mobile phone where it thought headphones were connected, and I checked the jack and found a piece of fingernail inside, removed it, and the problem went away. Yeah. Jeff says, I looked up a plane ticket from Arizona to Australia, and it's not cheap. How much is it? It's probably not a lot more than $1,200, especially if you book it out a month in advance. Well, get away from the holiday season, obviously. Let me take a look at my camera settings here. Let's see, it's got to be in the camera itself. White balance is on auto white balance. That makes me orange, more orange, a little more orange. Fluorescent lighting. Wow, everything's very orange. Ooh. No, still feels blue. That to that. Actually, there's a little, that's tungsten lighting. I can adjust the color temperature manually. That looks pretty good. That's a 4800K color temperature. The default is 5500. Let's go back. I can set my white balance here. How's that? Does that look better to you? I don't know, it feels a little orange to me. Let's take another look. Let's go back. Is it an exposure? could bring the exposure up by 0.5. I think that looks better with the exposure up a little higher. What do you guys think? Colin says his airfare to come to Phoenix is 4,300 pounds. That's like $6,000. Holy smokes. Irving says, I have to go to bed. Have a great day. Hey, Irving, thanks for dropping in. Always a pleasure to see you. Well, to see your text. Carrie, you have a tan, LOL. I live in a desert. Why should that be a shock? Does still look a little orange to me, though. I can just crank down the... Back to the white balance. Let's go back. Set. No, I don't want to set the white balance. I want to set the color temperature. See, that's a little cold. That's a 3800K. Too orange. Maybe right there. That's 4200K from 5500K. That looks pretty natural to me. That's what I think. That's what I'm going to stick with. We'll keep it there. Now, when I flip on the other camera, then it's not going to match anymore. So that's the problem. As winter has brought in less sunlight into my kitchen, it's altered the way the videos look. That's how sensitive cameras are to light. That's why Colin's videos were so dark. I don't know what he shot it on. It could have been a cell phone. If you want really good video, you need a lot of light. If you've ever seen anybody on stage, if you've ever seen any productions on stage, the people on stage can't rarely see the audience. When the lights are up, all you see are lights. They're very, very bright. Someone's asking about this Logitech keyboard and mouse. I didn't really care for this Logitech keyboard and mouse, but I'll give you a link to it if you want it. Let me find it. What's up, Jimmy? It's not time to eat yet. It's not time. Oh, there it is. It's the MK240. Logitech MK240. $59 for this keyboard and mouse combo for the black and yellow one that you see. Let me give you a link to it here. This is my Amazon link. If you click on this link and buy anything from Amazon while you're visiting from this link, I make a small commission from it. So right there, I just put it in the chat room for the Logitech, this Logitech keyboard and mouse right there. Yeah, Sharon knows. Sharon's in a band. She says, I hate it when I can't see my audience. Yeah. Oh, Colin's traveling business class, so that's going to cost you a bit more money. Evidence Savant says, on my standard UHD TV, you look fine, but on the UHD with HDR enabled, you glow blue. I'm like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Use the Force. Kevin says, I'm from Belfast and I have family in Phoenix and it costs me about $600 there and back. It depends on time of year. Sure. Of course, holiday travel is always more expensive. Christian says, I bet Carrie would go anywhere when invited as long as there is a large supply of Coca-Cola. Usually, you can go to some of the most remote villages in the Amazon and find Coca-Cola. Fractal design is Swedish design. Well, that explains why I don't like it. Never been much of a fan of the Scandinavian designs. Don't like Volvo. I don't like IKEA. I just, it's all very simple, minimalistic. I kind of feel the NZXT cases here, these are kind of simple. They kind of fit that minimalist design that you often see in the Scandinavian designs. And there's always exceptions. I'm not saying I flat out hate all Scandinavian design, just naming some examples of Scandinavian design I don't like. And when I think of a design I do like, Scandinavian doesn't come to mind. It's just not my style. Am I a Force ghost? I could be. Jamie Cromwell says, I'm planning on coming down to Arizona to see my family. I would love to help you build a PC if that would be possible. It might be, Jamie. Let me make you a moderator. Yeah, just reach out to me. It depends what I've got going on. Once all these builds are done, I think I only have 2 other builds remaining. And of course, then the holiday season hits. And I'm going to be focusing my channel more on repairs and examples of, like, I'll show you stuff you shouldn't do and why. I'll demonstrate it. I'll show you stuff you should do and why, which is what I normally do. And there'll be less of a focus on builds and more of a focus on maintenance, repair, and showing examples to back up why I explain or why I have these views, what the real cost is and what the real chances of success or failure are, and whether or not it's worth that risk, whether we talk about Snappy Driver Installer, for example, RAID 0, for example. There's a lot of things that you can do, but the question is, should you? Is it worth it? Now, generally speaking, my attitude comes from a position of support. Is this something that's going to leave me with a happy customer? Or is this going to be a customer that's going to constantly call me with problems because they insisted they wanted this Threadripper build and I suggested they don't do it? And they said, well, I want to do it anyway. And then they start calling me because the fans are too loud, or they had a boot up problem and they've got a RAID 0 array and they can't boot anymore, and they're expecting it fixed for free under warranty. It's a huge time suck, and I start losing money and they lose confidence in my abilities. They'll blame me for it. So there are occasions when I tell a customer I simply won't build it. And it reminds me of my friend George. He does home repairs, and he went into an office building and they had cut a hole in the wall as a pass-through. And they just wanted him to frame it out. And he stopped in and he looked at it, and then he came back. I was waiting in the car for him. He stopped in their office, talked to them for a few minutes, came back out, and he says, I'm not doing the job. And I said, why? Because they want me to they just want me to smooth it. They don't want me to frame it or stain it or make it look good. They want the rough edges off, and that's it. I said, so what difference does it make to you? He goes, well, the difference is going to make is somebody's going to come in there, maybe a customer, and go, holy smokes, that looks like crap. Who did that? Oh, that's our handyman George's work. So he told the customer, no, thank you. I don't want to do that work. If you have a lot of pride in what you do, you don't do what a customer tells you to. If it doesn't align with something that matches your ideals, your standards, don't sell yourself out. It'll often cost you a lot more than you can possibly imagine at the time. The long-term effects of that, not good. Bill Ottinger has contributed $2. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for your contribution. I am really looking forward to meeting Colin face-to-face. That'll be very, very much looking forward to that, Colin. We'll have to take you somewhere very Arizona-ish, get you some cactus candy or something disgusting. Take you shooting, but you don't do that in England. Take you over to the shooting range. America. Hello, Carrie. Any plans for TechVets? I have sent emails to Mike. I've sent 3 or 4 emails to Mike, and none of them have been responded to. I can only assume that Mike is very busy. I don't think he's mad at me for anything. I can't imagine why. So when Mike doesn't talk back, there's no way I can do a TechVets by myself. It's me and Mike, or not at all. And work has to come first. If Mike is busy working for his clients, he has to prioritize that, because TechVets is something we do for fun. It doesn't make us any money. But we haven't pod faded. We haven't gone away. And I'm sure Mike will reach out to me when he's ready. Let's search for that on YouTube. Natives offer explorers Coca-Cola. There's a movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy. Why don't you watch that? Sharon says, Carrie, if you come over to my place, I'd have you drinking Pepsi. Like hell you will. I crack myself up. Speaking of which, maybe time for another Coke. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat now, and I will do my best to address them. And then I'm going to wrap this up so I can wrap these cases up so that I can get over to, hopefully get over to FedEx and get one of these darn things out of the house. That noise, my European friends, that's called an ice maker. You should look into that. It's the only criticism I have about Europe. Got something about ice. I don't know what your problem is with ice. It's good. Not everybody guzzles down a drink in 2 seconds. I was out with some friends the other night and I bought a drink. I don't drink very often. We're at a bar, you know. Told the bartender to just make me something with vodka that's sort of got some kind of fruit juice in it, some sparkling fruit juicy vodka drink. So he just slammed something together and I nurse the drink. It takes me forever. And my friend orders another round for everybody and I'm not even halfway through my drink. I'm like, what are you doing? You know I'm not going to drink any faster. We're just going to be here a while. You want to be here another 2 hours? Is it if you wanted to be here another half an hour, you should have just ordered me a shot. Not a big drinker, not alcohol. Very rare. Nothing against it, it just doesn't, I don't know. Doesn't do much for me. But socially to have a drink when everybody else is drinking, it's just a natural, just feels natural to do it. But they'll be on their 7th drink and I'm still trying to finish the one. And without ice, it's too warm and it gets nasty tasting. So that's why I'm such a big fan of ice, because I'm a slow drinker of anything. It doesn't matter if it's Coca-Cola, if it's alcohol, I drink very slowly. If you watch the videos, you see. Carrie, you should have recorded your sister cutting that cable. It would have made a good video on what not to do. She probably wouldn't have done it. If I was in her face with a camera, she'd have been paying more attention. Have I had vanilla Coke? Yeah, it's disgusting. Carrie, if you're in New York and you go into the Coke building with a Pepsi shirt on, they will kick you out. And so they should. William says, you ought to try shipping a marine radar to Russia. That was fun, I bet. I bet. Still have a bunch of quick tips videos in the works too. Probably another 15 of them are happening as we speak. Can you put Coke in your ice maker? Then your Coke won't get watered down. I like my Coke watered down. I think it tastes better. It's too sweet otherwise. Christian says, in Germany, we have a soft drink called Spezi. It's a mixture between Coke and Fanta. Very good stuff. Oh, might have to look into that. Wonder if I can order that on Amazon. S-P-E-Z-I. Let's see if it comes up. S-P-E-Z-I. There it is. Polymer Spezi. Cola and orange soda. Oh, it almost sounds like the Scottish Iron Brew. Also shows Mezzomix being something similar. Mezzomix is classic cola and orange soda. It does not sound good. There's a German drink called Schwipschwap. Another cola and orange. Schwipschwap. That just sounds like a bunch of Schwipschwap to me. One customer review, 5 stars. What does it say? I love my Schwipschwap. We lived in Munich from 77 to 79, and I remember drinking this. It's delicious and worth the price. You say so. Schwip schwap. Get me some schwip schwap. Here, let me give you a link to these drinks I'm looking at. I'll just give you a link to all of them. Let's see. Generate a link. Copy. Paste. There you go. I followed your tip by turning off CSM. I only turn off CSM when I have to turn on RAID 0. That's the only reason you'll ever see me turn CSM off. So if you're configuring a RAID 0, that would make sense. But if you're not configuring a RAID 0, then you weren't paying attention to the video. Schwip Schwap is made by Pepsi. Well, I already know I'm not going to like it. Come to Chattanooga. I'll take you over to the Coke factory where they bottle it. Every state has a Coke factory where they bottle it, pretty much. Phoenix has got one. Atlanta is the headquarters. That's where you need to go. See the real thing of the real thing. Is Glare Utilities an okay program? It's fine, but it's unnecessary for Windows 10. It's redundant. For any other Windows version, fine, but using it on Windows 10 is just a waste. You don't need to. There's no advantage. But it shouldn't hurt anything. You just don't need it. Yeah, I like that watered down. Much better. I like my Coke like I like my attitude. Cold and bitter. Oh, what are you doing, buddy? What do you want? What do you want? It is not anywhere near your dinner time. I don't understand what the problem. Oh my goodness. Come here. Come up here. Oh, Joko boy. Oh, look at this boy. Oh, there goes your brother. Oh, you're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. Oh, knock my microphone off. Pat that butt. Come here, let me smack your butt. Come here. I'm gonna smack it. I'm gonna smack it. Smack your butt. Yeah, I'm gonna smack your butt. Good boys. Is it cookie time? I guess you guys can have a cookie. All right. Spoiled rotten. These are from Patrick, these cookies. You guys have almost eaten all of Patrick's cookies. You want that? Leave my fingers. How about you, Lyle? Good boy, nice and gentle. Yeah, that's how that happened. No, I'm kidding. I got all my fingers. Have you ever asked for a Coke and they give you a Pepsi? I mean, they're going to give me whatever they have. In other words, if I ask for a Coke, the only reason they're going to bring me a Pepsi is because they don't have Coke. There's never been a time where I've asked for a Coke and they say, is Pepsi okay? Where I have said no. The joke that I saw on The Simpsons was, you know, the slogan for Pepsi was, it's what you drink when they don't have Coke. Which cracked me up, because that's the only time I drink it. You know, if I'm at a restaurant, like I like Grimaldi's pizza, and Grimaldi's has Pepsi, so I order a Pepsi. That's what I do. But if I go to Malnati's Pizza, Malnati's has Coke. So, you know, which one do you think I like better? Winston Ang Lewis contributed $2 Canadian. Carrie, drink Canadian Coke. I drank it all, Winston. You sent it. I drank it all. It's all gone. But thank you for sending it. Thought that big box would last a month or two. That box has got a little bit left in it, but it's almost empty. I could probably fill that jar up Well, the jar only gets filled up about halfway because there's some other stuff underneath that we don't give the dogs anymore. Probably need to dump it out. But I think I could fill it up 1 or 2 more times, and we fill it up about once a week. So another 2 weeks, those cookies are gone. Carrie, do you like The Simpsons? I've always liked The Simpsons. Back on the Tracy Ullman show, it was the only reason I watched Tracy Ullman was to watch The Simpsons. Have you used the Windows Repair Toolbox before? Oh, sure, of course. I haven't used it in a long, long time, but it can be a very useful tool. Panagiotis Grammatopoulos says, greetings from Athens, Greece. Well, greetings. Pizza Hut has Pepsi too. Yeah, I haven't been to Pizza Hut in years. Some people have asked about my Galaga video game machine. A lot of people are new to the channel and haven't seen it, or they see it in the background sometimes in my video if the camera's positioned just so. It's back in my office. And I did a video on it. It was a gift for myself back when I was like 40. So back in February of 2012, I did a little 2-minute video of me showing it off. Yeah, I was proud of it. It's one of my best friends growing up. Ryan Dolan has contributed $2. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for your contribution. So for those of you who haven't seen that video, I'm just going to play it here. I have to configure my OBS software. Where is it? Here it is. See if it'll play. Some of you with sharp eyes noticed my arcade game in the background of some of my previous videos, so I thought I'd give you a closer look at it. This is it. The classic 1981 Galaga arcade game, and this is right out of the arcade. It even takes quarters too. Listen to that. Now this isn't just Galaga, it actually has 60 other authenticated arcade ROMs in it. Meaning they're the actual arcade ROMs from the actual arcade games, from Centipede, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian, Gyrus, Galaga, Zaxxon, Cubert. It goes on and on and on. So I'm going to tell it I want to play Galaga because that's the one I want. And here comes the music to my ears. Ah, yes. Excuse me. I have a universe to save. No! I'm sorry, universe. I did what I could. You know, me and a Galaga machine just like this were best friends growing up. I spent so many hours in the arcade and spent so many quarters. Well, I don't even want to admit. But, you know what? This is a great device. Nothing beats the classics, I gotta tell you. As I mentioned earlier, this has 60 of the classic arcade games. They're not emulated, they are the real deal. And if you want more information, it's called an iCade. You can Google it. I'll see if I can put a link in the notes below the video. And it's got 60 games in it, which I won't list for you, but trust me, all the big ones are in there. And you know, Dig Dug, Centipede, Galaga, Galaxian, Gyrus, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, on and on and on. And this is a fun project if you ever want to get into it. I bought a Galaga machine that was broken and then converted it over. You basically take out the original 1980 circuit board, it's about yay big, and then you replace it with this little circuit board, it's about that big. When you open up the back of this thing, it's kind of sad. I'd like to change out the CRT and put an LCD in there. It makes the screen look a little sharper, but on the other hand, I also like that old school look, so there's a little bit of burn-in on that screen that just reminds me of the days in the arcade. But I'll tell you what else is a lot of fun, is building your own computer. Had a lot of requests for updating the build computer for 2012, so here it is. Let's get started. So that was uploaded back in 2012. Do I still look the same? I hope so. Patrick says, here's $10. Please get the dogs some more treats. They're not getting fat enough, Patrick? All right, well, thank you. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate that. One of my related videos to that, that I'm very proud of, and I'm surprised it doesn't have more views, was discussing how you can build one of your own machines to match that. And you can do it for under $100, and I'll let the video speak for itself. Many of you may have seen this, but some of you may not have. So for the benefit of those of you who haven't seen this video, let me go ahead and play it for you now. It's not a very long video, and I really think it stresses the point. Here we go. Oh, first, Gary Kane has contributed $5. Hey, Gary, thanks for your contribution. A customer has just brought a machine in for repair that I have to show you. After 25 years of being in business, I've never seen anything like this before. This is a Dell motherboard. This is a Dell hard drive, well, the hard drive that came with it. And this is a Dell power supply. And yes, that's wood with warnings about vapors can be irritating to the eyes and affect your respiratory system. And they've glued it, and they've also glued these hard drive rails onto the back of this motherboard. They use something like liquid nails. These rails will not come off without ripping the entire surface of the circuit board off. Furthermore, and what you really need to understand about this was a gaming PC that sold for about $1,500. No, 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 no. No. Power supply? Listen, if you want to build a cheap gaming computer, let me show you how you can build one for under $100 that'll never need to be upgraded. It needs no cooling whatsoever, and you will more than likely never ever get through the entire game in your lifetime. All right, now I have to come into the house briefly to explain this next part to you. There are folks like me who are in their mid-40s who really, I'm gonna go with mid-40s, who are really in the nostalgic mode when they see these old arcade games, the old upright arcade cabinets. But do you have any idea how much those old upright arcade cabinets sell for? Let's take a quick look on eBay. Now oftentimes, but not always, the internals of these arcade cabinets is nothing more than an old PC like this one, hooked up with a monitor and some speakers, and of course a joystick and some firing buttons. That's all there is to it. It's an incredible profit margin. Now, for those of you who watch my videos regularly, I'm sure you recognize this computer because I used it on data recovery for this video right here. And then I used it again because it wouldn't turn on in this video right here. This customer, as I explained in those videos, does not want this computer. He simply wanted the data off of it, and because the computer would not turn on, he could not pull the data off. He wants the data, and the rest of it can go anywhere. He doesn't care. Just get it out of his house. So this is a perfect example of what potentially could be a $3,500 gaming PC. This is a computer from 2007. It's nothing more than a Pentium 4, 3 gigahertz with just 1 gig of RAM and Windows XP. It doesn't hook up to the internet, so Windows XP is not a problem. So outside I had this hard drive. This is the part I didn't smash because this actually has the multi-arcade machine emulator software on it along with all the games. And this is somewhat illegal. Not the MAME software itself, but the arcade games themselves. That's why if you want to build your own, you have to download all the games separately from, questionable sites. And there's a better way than this, but let's just cover MAME first. So if you wanted to play the old school arcade games, and these games, by the way, these are the games I played. There were no 3D graphics. And the levels were the same levels over and over, only it got harder and faster until you died, just like life. I'm stealing that quote from Ernest Cline. And if you don't know who Ernest Cline is, well, there's a movie coming out called Ready Player One, which is a fantastic science fiction book that he wrote. He's one of us. He's one of the geeks. And anyway, he did some slam poetry that's hilarious. If you have time, look it up on the internet. And it's really funny. But regardless, I'm getting sidetracked. What I've done, when you saw me smash that motherboard outside, that motherboard was dead. There was no repairing it. The only thing that was of any value was the software on the drive. And what I've done is I've transplanted the software off of this drive onto the drive in here. And I want to show you what it looks like to have a dedicated arcade machine outside of the cabinet. All right, so all we need right now for this to be an arcade cabinet is the cabinet itself. So it's ridiculous to pay upwards of $3,500 for essentially is just the cabinet. And like I said, not everybody who sells the cabinets is using an old PC like this. It wouldn't make any sense to use a newer one because that's just a waste of money. And like I said, these old school arcade games, you can play them and play them and play them and likely never win them. Now you see the screen's tilted here because back in the day, arcade games were either horizontal or vertical. This one is vertical, so let me just rotate it here so you can see it. There we go. I'll just hold it. Now, when this comes up, it's got a custom menuing system that somebody wrote. And whoever it was, they certainly did their best to hide their work and to hide who they were because of the questionable legality of this. I don't know of anybody getting sued over it, but you can research it online if you're interested in creating something like this. But before the end of this video, I'm going to give you a much better, much simpler alternative than the time involved in this little project. Because someone spent some time on this. And I'm told the customer paid upwards of $1,500 for this arcade cabinet, but it was probably more than that, as you could tell just by looking at these eBay listings that I showed you. $1,500 is cheap. So it's still booting. In just a moment here, we're going to get our options. Here they are. And I'm going to use the keyboard since I don't have an arcade controller. And I'm just going to select one of these games. I need to step around to actually see, though. Let's pull up, well, let's see. Let's pull up my favorite. Where's my favorite Galaga? Oh, Galaga's over here. Okay. Now there's a few screens of games. You'll see there's a next button here, and there's about 3 screens just like this. So I'm going to select Galaga, and it's actually a replication. Well, the sound works. It's actually a replication of the arcade machine itself. This is not something anybody recoded. It's the actual program code from the real arcade machine, which is important to folks like me who want to remember it the way it was, not like the Nintendo version or the Sega Genesis version or the Xbox version. This is the real deal. This is, you know, I can't underscore the authenticity and how important that is. I want it the way I remembered it. So we'll simulate putting a coin in it, and then we'll simulate starting the game. That's all there is to this. Remember, we were dumping quarters in this for every 3 players, or, you know, depending on how good you were, you'd get an extra guy. So we would dump quarter after quarter after quarter. So when you hear $1,500 for an arcade machine, that's actually really cheap, because as a teenager, we probably pumped a lot more than $1,500 worth of quarters in them, and that was 1980s money. So let me go back outside and tell you more about the alternative to this, which is a lot easier, a lot cheaper, a lot less stressful, and 100% legal. I'm sorry, just for kicks, I gotta bring this one up real quick. I gotta hear this. I miss this so much. This is music to my ears. Oh yeah, it's on like Donkey Kong. What I've got in front of you here is something called a JAMA board. See, I made a useful thing out of the wood. You know, I couldn't even read the make and model of this hard drive because there's no way to pull the wood off of it. But I did run some software to determine what that was. But that's irrelevant. What we've got here are 2 different JAMA boards. Now these JAMA boards represent 2 different styles of arcade games. Some arcade games had the monitor in a vertical position. Most of them did. So the games that I like Galaga, Galaxian, Gyrus, Dig Dug, Donkey Kong, all those games had the screen vertical. So you need a different JAMA board for horizontal games. This one is the vertical board. This has got 60 arcade games all in one, and they're the original arcade ROMs. This board over here is a 19-in-1, so that means there's 19 games on here. These are all horizontal games from a manufacturer called Williams. And Williams made these great arcade games like Joust, Defender, Stargate, Robotron. Now when you download ROMs from the internet, the reason why when you download MAME it doesn't come with them is because of copyright issues. But if you buy a JAMA board, you don't have to worry about any of that. All this is on the up and up. And the connections to this are very simple. All you have to do is plug a regular VGA monitor into this, and you can rotate that monitor horizontally or vertically as you need it. This is a regular speaker output for PC speakers, and it's all powered by a normal Molex connector off of a PC power supply, which you can short out in order to turn it on, or you can just install a normal PC on-off button to make that short for you right onto the power connector. And you're hooked up and ready to play, except you're going to need a controller. So that's what this part is. For people that have been in the business a long time, you might think this is an ISA board, but this is not. This is the standard JAMA connector. So any JAMA compatible board will have the JAMA connector. So for about $12 you can buy a JAMA harness, and this harness enables you to hook up a regular CRT arcade monitor if you want to. It enables you to hook up all different types of controllers. So what I have here is a control board from an old original Galaxian upright arcade game. And you know, it's a little rusty, but it works perfectly. These old switches were just metal hitting metal versus the micro switches that we use on modern controllers today. And these can be swapped out if you want to swap them out. I personally like the feel of the old original contacts. It works just amazingly well. And so with very simple wiring, you can find the schematics for which wire goes where on the other end of this connector. You can very easily wire this up. You can even build your own arcade cabinet. All the specifications for the measurements are all found online for free. Or go on Craigslist like I did to find this old controller. Maybe you can just buy the whole arcade game with it. It doesn't matter if the CRT's burned out, it doesn't matter if the circuit board works, you just need the cabinet. You can fit a standard 19-inch CRT monitor in it. Barring going on Craigslist, you could just go to a website that sells the JAMA boards. These JAMA boards range anywhere from $45 to $60 on average, and they have multiple in-ones. So this is a 19-in-1, this is a 60-in-1. They go up to 501, but all the ones above 60-in-1 do have some Asian arcade games that have cartoon nudity, and they're really weird games, and it's an awful lot to choose from. So I like to stick with the arcade classics, the Dig Dug, the Donkey Kong, the Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, all the classics, Zaxxon, Xevious, and those are available in the 60-in-1 depending on if it's a horizontal or vertical game. As I mentioned, all the Williams games are here, and what you've got is a real gaming computer for under $100 minus the cost of a cabinet that you put it in. Some people go, well, why not just run MAME on my computer? Because you're using the keyboard as your controller, and MAME doesn't quite replicate the games precisely. Some games it does better than others. Sometimes there's little bugs, artifacting, and sound issues. So I, as a purist, don't recommend that. This is just like having the real arcade game. It'll even take quarters. Part of this connector is for the coin slot if you want to hook that up. So it really replicates an actual arcade game. And let me tell you guys something else. Your Xboxes and your Xbox 360s, your PlayStation 3s and 4s, you should save those, because in 20 or 30 years, maybe even longer than that, you're going to want to pull those out of the closet and replay them again. It's very nostalgic when you get older. If you look online right now for how much an original NES system is going for, or a Sega Genesis system that works and has the box, they're going for 4 figures on eBay right now. So do yourself a favor. With your old obsolete gaming system, put it all back in the box. Don't forget to put your power cable. Put everything you're going to need in there. Take batteries out of things because the batteries will leak. And in 20 or 30 years, I'm telling you, you're going to be so happy you did that. When you pull up Halo again, or Call of Duty, or Overwatch, Destiny, it's going to bring back such memories for you. You're going to be glad you held on to it. Just when you're done with it, don't sell it. Put it in a box, stick it in the garage, and forget about it. You're going to be so happy when you're 35, 45, 55 years old that you pull that thing out and hook it up to your TV or your holographic center, whatever we're using in that time. There'll always be adapters to connect it, or still with as many monitors, you'll always be able to find an old monitor somewhere. You're going to be so happy you did that. The nostalgia value of that is priceless. To purchase one of these JAMA boards, you can just search eBay, or my preference, there's actually a company right in my own hometown called highscoresaves.com, and they have great prices and excellent customer service. They are not paying me to make this video, and I have links to all this information in the video notes below. So anyway, there's a gaming computer that will never go obsolete, needs no cooling, that you will probably never ever master any one of the 60 games on there, and it's all under $100. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. By the power of Grayskull! No, wait. What does Thor say? Oh, you humans are so tiny. You can see I had a lot of fun making that video. But seriously, the machine, you'll never master any of those games. Maybe one of them if you spend enough hours on it. I can't even imagine how much money I dumped into those machines in the 1980s. A lot of quarters, a lot of quarters. And yeah, for anybody who missed that video, I just feel like it's not getting the views it deserves. I think it's only at 23,000 videos. That thing should be at 1 million. What's going on, man? And there was a mini Galaga machine you can buy on Amazon. Well, I actually found this at Target, and it's really cool. This is the on switch right here. You just push in the coin slot, and then that turns it on. And the only complaint people have on it, and I have the same problem, is the speaker's a little inadequate, so it buzzes. But it's got everything authentic. Everything's backwards. You have to play this backwards. You ever try to play a video game backwards? Trust me, I'm making it look easy. Oh. And they sell for about $30, $35. I think this was $35 at Target. Neat little stocking stuffer there for the holidays, for anybody who's into classic games. They've got Dig Dug and Motocross or Rallycross. A bunch of other titles are available if that's not your jam. There's some others out there that you might be interested in, and they're just little one-offs. And certainly for people my age, it'd make a great Christmas present if you know somebody who was in the arcades, in the 80s, and you're thinking of a unique holiday gift for them. Could make their day, and it's not expensive. So I had the link to that in the live chat for the game. Someone asked about the cordless screwdriver, the Panasonic EY7410. I buy that off Amazon. That driver hasn't changed in 5 years. It still seems to be the best one you can buy. There's two versions of it. One that comes with batteries and a charger and a little suitcase. That's about $165. Or you can buy the driver itself without a battery or a charger for $115. Doesn't make any sense to do that unless you already have a battery and charger. It's proprietary, and I think it'll cost you more to buy it all individually. So $165 may sound expensive, but if you work in the field like I do, what's the price of carpal tunnel syndrome worth to you, or repetitive stress disorders? It makes life so much easier when you're doing a lot of building or upgrading of any type of work where you've got to turn a screwdriver. It's very useful. So once again, I'll ask you if you have any any questions for me. This will be the time to ask, or I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream today. I'm going to wrap it up a little early unless questions start coming in. I still have case badges available. Any contributions, $20 or more, please submit through the tech-vets.com donate button located there. And then I will respond to you, say thank you, and ask you for your mailing address, and I will get one out to you. They usually ship on Mondays, so if you order today, it won't ship out for another 7 days. You'll get it within 2 to 3 weeks generally. If anybody's ordered and it's been more than 3 weeks and you haven't received anything, and certainly if you haven't heard back from me, something's wrong. Leave me a message in the comment section. As I mentioned, all comments have to be approved, so you can leave private contact information in a comment. It will not be seen by anybody but me, and I will delete that comment, and I will not approve it once I take a note of your contact info so we can reach out and make things right. Gary Kane has contributed $5. He says, thanks for the memories. Hey, Gary, thanks for the $5. That's a deal. Ben says, thanks for the stream today, Carrie. Well, thanks for joining me, Ben. TE20, is it worth upgrading NVIDIA drivers? Maybe, depends on how you use the computer. Who is your favorite Simpsons character? Favorite Simpsons character? I don't really have one, to be honest. Sharon says, you didn't ask me for my mailing address. Oh, Sharon, I didn't know you wanted another case badge. Just drop me an email with your address, and I'll gladly send you another. My apologies. Any suggestion on where to find the upright arcade cabinets? They're all over. If you generally want to buy locally and have a pickup truck to move it, I would look on Craigslist. You find a broken machine, you should be able to pick up a broken, especially if it's a game nobody ever played. You know, those machines aren't worth much, and just gut it for the cabinet. There's also some websites that have all the dimensions if you're good with woodworking and you want to make your own cabinet. All that information is available with the Google search. Stefan says, thanks for the note about the Samsung Magician software and driver instead of the Windows NVMe driver. I just watched it and I got a 20% increase in write speed and a 4% increase in read speed for my Samsung 950. Yeah, and for free, right? Carrie, what's the specs of your arcade machine in the back? Is it the same as the one in the video you just showed? Yes, it's running off of the JAMA board. That arcade cabinet is empty inside. It's got a power adapter, which is basically a power supply. It's got that little tiny circuit board mounted on the wall of the arcade cabinet inside. And it's got a bunch of wires running to the coin slot and to the CRT. And the CRT is the bulk of all the cabling. I could switch it out to an LCD, but I didn't want to because I wanted to keep it the way I remembered them. Of course, LCDs didn't exist in the 80s, and so, well, the picture will be crisper and refined. It's not how it was in the 80s. In fact, my arcade cabinet, when I bought it, the guy offered to fix it up. I said, I don't want it fixed up. I want it beaten. I want it showing its age because that's how it looked in the arcade when I played it. That's what I want. I want what I remember. So he was happy to sell it to me. I just found out that the first WPA3 router is a Synology mesh. Yeah, but without WPA3 compatible devices you're going to connect to it, what good is that? I realize somebody's got to go first, but hopefully that'll be a new standard before too long. If such a thing exists. I'm assuming what he's telling me is true. I've never heard of WPA3, but it goes along with evolving technology. I wouldn't expect that to be false. Walmart has 5-foot game consoles of Galaga and another game included, working units with screens for $300. have to see a link to that, Kelly. Please provide a link. When you want to close a window that is behind the video frame hiding the red X, you can right-click on the window upper edge and obtain a... Okay. I noticed in that video you had a huge stack of PC cases. Yeah, those are all gone. Gary says, yeah, he agrees with Stefan. Downloaded Samsung drivers and improved performance. Joe says they are 4 feet tall at Walmart. Oh, 4 feet. What is that for? 5-year-olds? Ian Scott Johnson says, Carrie, the 80s were the best. I want to go back then and relive my teenage and 20s days. Yeah, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. Money was tight. Whenever you're a teenager, I'd say from the age of about 15 to 25, generally those will be the good old days when you get older. No matter how bad times were, for some reason the human brain, at least here in America, people tend to, that time frame between 15 and 25 seems to be most cherished. Even though that's the time when you're going from a child to an adult, maybe you'll be moving out for the first time, you'll be dating and falling in love for the first time. Whatever the music is that's on the radio will stay with you for life. Those turn out to be pretty important years later on. I don't know why. The 80s were not good to me, but for some reason I have a fondness for they weren't, it's not like everything was bad, but most of it was bad. The arcade was an escape, and music was an escape. And so I guess that's why I have a fond memory of things like Duran Duran and Galaga. Tinsel G has contributed 5 Canadian dollars. Thanks for the stream and all the laughs, Carrie. Have a good evening. Hey, thank you, Tinsel G. Appreciate your contribution. Let's make sure you're a moderator. Oh, you are. Good. Carrie, did you delete any build videos? No, I have not deleted any build videos. Ryan Petrie says, thank you for all you do. Because of you, I've started my career in IT. Very nice. So very much one of the best compliments I can receive. Those are the years when you're not jaded yet. Yeah, maybe. Or maybe that things are still new. There's still new things to discover. When you've been alive long enough, there's just nothing new anymore. It's all just sort of the same and kind of boring, honest. It sounds jaded, but it's just, there's a certain excitement when you see and experience things for the first time, and you can still sort of experience that with a child and live vicariously through a child, or even a dog, a puppy, never seen itself in a mirror, or never played on grass before, first time taking them to the water, stuff like that. So since you can't experience anything new anymore because you've seen it all, you can do it vicariously through a child or a pet. But yeah, that's probably part of it. Milge06457 says, I liked playing foosball more than Pong or Pac-Man. When I grew up in Michigan, my father had a foosball table in the basement. It would hit you in the crotch all the time. You know, the players are moving these things in and out. And if you don't know what foosball is, just Google it. Or go to YouTube and Google it on YouTube, or search on YouTube rather, and see videos of it. It's easier to explain it by watching it than trying to describe what it is. I loved air hockey. That was my game. It still is. Air hockey is the best. You need a big room for a proper sized air hockey table, because they have some little air hockey tables. No, not interested. Full size air hockey table is the best. I'll hit the puck so hard it'll fly across the room and take somebody's eye out. I get very competitive. '80s cars? Oh, they were the worst. 1980s cars were the worst. God, I just cringe when I see Knight Rider and... Ugh. The interiors were just awful. The engines were awful. The horsepower was awful. The steering was awful. Everything was awful. Reliability was awful. Gas mileage was awful. Yeah. It's tough to play foosball alone. You can do it. It's a challenge. Still love the judge video, one of my favorites. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, that was one of my favorites too. And you know, that almost didn't happen because when the guy said he was a judge, I thought, yeah, sure you are. Because he wasn't following the directions to start a build. And he said, I want to do it this way instead. And I'm like, that's not my business process. My business process exists for a reason. And if you're really a judge, you understand why rules exist. And I thought that's either going to offend him or it's going to out him as not really being a judge. It did neither. He followed the rules. And I looked him up online, and sure enough, he's a real judge. So then I was like, oh, respect, respect. And then I had fun with it. Once we spoke on the phone, you know, there's no facial expressions and there's no tone really in an email or a text message. So it's amazing how things can be misinterpreted. When you talk to somebody, just even over the telephone, where I don't see a face, but I can at least hear inclination in the voice, that made all the difference in the world. And I knew this was a real person. He was sincere and he wasn't lying to me. And I also learned he had a really good sense of humor, thank goodness. And I checked in with him last week or 2 weeks ago, and I asked him how things were going, and he said, you build your systems too good. Those things running just as good as it ever has been, and I don't need anything. And I said, well, that's okay. When you need something, I'm here, and I'm happy to, when you're ready to upgrade, I'm happy to help you out. Just let me know. Good guy. I'll miss your kitchen if you ever get a studio. I've been watching that kitchen since 2009. I've had so many people say that to me. I've had people that, I had there was a gentleman with his wife, and she's like, my husband watches your videos and I see your kitchen all the time. You have a lovely kitchen. And I said, well, that's all up to my wife. She painted it. That's her doing. But it's interesting because it's just a common sense. It's a good place to build computers. It's very well lit. It's an anti-static environment. And I've got this island counter, which is just the perfect size. You don't want to build on carpeting. You don't want to build on a little table. You know, you don't want to build in any darkness. You want as much light as possible because there's some little detail stuff like the wiring and such that you have to, it helps to be able to see. Taylor TDD says, I'm a big fan of your videos. I discovered you. Were you doing an i7 6700 build with a GTX 970 back in January of 2016? Oh, he built it. It says, computer still runs great. Doesn't seem to need an upgrade yet. Awesome. Jerry says the 60s were the best years. I wouldn't know. I would not know. Justin Havu needs to look up the lyrics to Hungry Like the Wolf because that is not what they are. It's funny though. It's funny how people mishear lyrics and what they think they say. There's no excuse to that. You just Google lyrics now and you can get the real lyrics. Carrie, did you try programming? I did some programming back in the day. Minor stuff, nothing critical. How many computer builds have you done in your lifetime so far? I did the math on this a couple years ago and it was between 20 and 30,000. But remember, I worked at a corporation where we were cranking out, me personally, up to 10 a day, 5 days a week. So those numbers grow really, really quickly in a factory. How many have I built here in my kitchen? Not many, maybe 100. Are you okay when your fans talk about other stuff with you besides tech stuff, or would you rather keep it tech only? I prefer to keep it tech only so that it benefits other people. Sometimes we go off on a tangent on movies and music, which is sometimes enjoyable for me if I have time. It helps people to get to know me a little better, but it doesn't help me get to know you much. So I prefer to make the videos for educational purposes, not for the purposes of people getting to know me. I don't really think it's not important, really. So it just depends. There's no real hard and fast rule about that. If I read it out loud and I answer it, I do, and if I don't, I won't. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. Do you remember the band Flock of Seagulls? Yes, my brother and I used to refer to them as Flock of Haircuts back in the 80s. All right, I guess that's going to wrap up today's build, today's video. And just looking right back through the comments to see if I caught everything. I think we're good. Go to walmart.com and look up Arcade 1U Rampage. All right, let me take a quick look at that and see what people are talking about. Go to walmart.com. Asteroids. It's not going to look right on a regular screen. So raster graphics, you need a special screen if you want it right. Centipede. They need a Joust. I'd consider buying one if it was Joust. It doesn't look like they've got very many. You only see Centipede, Rampage, Street Fighter 2, and Asteroids. I don't really care for any of those games. Reviews look good on them, though. Weighs 58 pounds. Oh, there's a lunar lander. I used to play lunar lander. Interesting. Yeah. For me, honestly, I want the real thing, or I don't want it at all. MAME is not good enough for me. I want to have the actual arcade cabinet. The only reason I went with the JAMA board was because they did such a good job in the translation. It looks and feels exactly the same. The machine still takes quarters if I want it to. It's exactly like I just pulled it out of the arcade from my childhood and put it right into my house. That's what I prefer, personally. So the only other arcade I would want would be a horizontal machine with the Williams games like Defender and Joust. And Joust and Moon Patrol are my two favorites from Williams arcade. Never really played Defender or Stargate much, and Robotron was too confusing with the controllers. I didn't have the coordination for that. I wasn't into Bubbles or whatever that was called. But, you know, to buy the arcade game for 2 games doesn't really make sense. The one that has Rampage has Joust on it? I didn't see that. Let me go back and look again. I definitely did not. Because I didn't even pull up the Rampage machine because I have no interest in it. It was a generation behind me that was playing those games. Rampage. It doesn't say it's got Joust in it. It says it's just Rampage. And the reviews are not good. Quality control at their factory must not exist. Quality of parts is not good. Dents and peeling, holes not lining up, controls that are not responsive. Instructions that tell you to use 3 screws when there are only 2 and put into holes that aren't there. The screen is bleeding and the plexiglass cover has ink and paint on it. Oh, he's taken photos and attached them to show. Oh, it shows Rampage, Gauntlet, Joust, and Defenders on that machine, doesn't it, on the photos? There's the scratch. Ooh, that's not good. I'd rather have a real one. You have to put it together. My son played it for less than 10 minutes and the screen went black. We still can't get anything to turn on. We're returning it. Materials are cheap. See mirrors on the screen out of the box. Gauntlet is only 2 players and has serious lag and audio distortion as you get higher in levels. And what do you expect from Walmart? It's just cheap junk. Yeah, for me, I'll take a real one or none at all. I think I would go so far, if I had the money, is to have my own dedicated Joust and my own dedicated Moon Patrol. Although I don't play them often enough to really justify having them. And my house isn't really big enough to support putting them anywhere. So it makes more sense to get a combined cabinet. But the thing is, if you've got games that are vertical versus games that are horizontal, you can't mix and match. You've got to have a dedicated machine for each one, and that can get really expensive. And the last time I turned my Galaga machine on was to fix it. I haven't played it in a long time. But it makes me feel good to have it, just having it. Gives me warm fuzzies. So my thanks to everybody who's contributed. My thanks to all my people in blue. I appreciate all of your support and keeping it civil in the chat. Special thanks, of course, to Colin Hilton for sharing his build with us. And again, if anybody else wants to share their build or upgrade or repair, just use your cell phone camera, upload to your own YouTube channel, and then share the link with me and give me permission to share it. And I will do so happily as long as you're not swearing and it's an honest and earnest build. I love that and be happy to show it off. And if you want to promote your own YouTube channel, I don't mind promoting your YouTube channel here. You're not a competitor. And I guess we're going to wrap it up for tonight. So again, thanks for everybody for joining, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.